Oh no, y'all could hear my grunts and such. I wasn't muted, alas. Good afternoon, boys, girls, and MBs of all shapes, sizes, colors, and orientations. Welcome to the one and only Allegunter stream. My name is Allegunter. I decided to stream today on a whim, because why not? Actually, I'm going to close those blinds real quick. They're very bright. I swear I can't do anything right. Oh, hold on. Okay, done and done. So as I said, I'm streaming on a whim today. Because why not? I'm off work. I have nothing better to do. It's been a while since I've had this many days off work, 3 in a row. I will probably be working tomorrow, but only for 4 hours. So technically, I could take tomorrow off if I wanted. We'll see. Maybe I will. I could use the break. The break's been very nice. Probably won't stay long as hearing debates for my right to exist sound exhausting right now, but I hope things go well. We shall see. What better way to celebrate Pride Month than to debate whether or not gay and trans people deserve to exist, right? It's a debate that should not have to be had, but alas, here we are, having it. I completely understand if you don't want to stick around, though. Don't sweat it. I think while I do this, I don't really have any updates for you guys. I've been working out more. But other than that, like, I didn't work out today. I was going to. I was ready to walk out the door, but I'm like, I really don't fucking feel like it today, so I just didn't. So, it's whatever. But, I don't really have any updates. So, I think that I'm just gonna jump into it. Get this show on the road. As you can see on the screen, if you do want to join, you can type !debate in any of the chats, and it should take you to the Platinum Politics server, which is where I'm holding the debates. How many people we got watching? 12 on YouTube, that's pretty good. 1 on Twitch, that's pretty good. We got double digits, I'll take it. Truly one of the times of all time. Okay, let's get the show on the road. Testing, 1, 2, testing, hello. We're now live in the Discord server, welcome. Welcome in, everybody. It's good to have you all here. I will be conducting some debates for, or whatever call-ins, you know, that happen to come in for Pride Month. You know, we're going to be debating pride and gay and trans rights and all that good stuff. You know, because I thought, what better way to celebrate Pride Month than to debate people's right to exist? So that's what I'm doing today. If you have any strong thoughts about it or otherwise just want to speak, you may request up. I will take them in the order that they are requested. If there are any discrepancies as to who requested first, we will work that out as they come up. I'll just have to trust the Discord chat to be honest about it. So, and you guys, you guys usually do a pretty good job of being honest about who requested up first. So, but yeah, if anybody wants to request up, feel free. In the meantime, I will be opening Mega Bonk, because that's what I'll be doing while we debate. We'll be playing 3D Vampire Survivors. I haven't played this in forever. I've never played Spaceman, so I'll be playing Spaceman. See if I can go live on Discord without fucking up the stream too much. I think we're good. Because before, I figured out the problem. Before, I was streaming everything 1440p. But I literally can't do that now because I no longer have Discord Nitro, so you're free to watch along. If you want to watch in the Discord, I will also be streaming this in the Discord. You can type !PP and you can watch along. Or you can just watch on the stream, that's fine too. We'll just be doing regular ass. I'm not doing no challenges. It's been a long time since I've played this, so forgive me if I suck, but it's really not a terribly complicated game. Oh, he's got a big jump. Nice. How's chat? Truly time to be alive. All right, I read that, yeah. Happy game month. Happy game month indeed. We'll do knockback. We'll min-max the knockback. Might be a little choppy in the Discord, but it's fine. It's not too bad. Hey Mace, what's up? Been a minute. Give me... We'll just do black hole. I've seen people play this game and they min-max the shit out of it. Like, they're so good, and I'm not that guy. So you'll have to forgive me if you are that guy, because you might get mad at me. Feel free to request up. Feel free to raise your hand if you'd like to come up. I am taking callers as we speak. Just nobody has requested yet. All right, we got a request. Let's pull them up.
Hello, you hear me?
Yes, a little too well. Hold on, let me turn you down a little bit.
Yeah, that's alright. About it.
Okay, that should be good. Hello, welcome up.
Hey, Alec, nice to meet you. I mean, well, it's the second time I've been in a debate like this, but
Okay, excellent.
yeah. I mean, to be honest, about the whole gay and pride thing, my whole point is I don't really hate. I'm not really homophobic. I don't hate gay people. It's all right. I mean, my opinion, I think in theory it's fine. But the main thing which I kind of have a gripe about, but is the whole like Pride Month thing, the whole thing like that. Isn't it actually kind of counterproductive to do that? Because it feels like it's signposting rather than actually like, you know, getting awareness. Doesn't it actually, you know, make you more of a target, especially towards people who are more extreme? And, you know, it's kind of counterproductive, and thereby you're actually a victim of more attacks. Like, for example, the more pride parades, the more gay parades go on, especially if they're more extravagant, that also leads to, well, you know, the more extreme voices who are a minority to still, their voices are amplified, which then causes more hostility, and then, well, more isolation as people, well, are more scared of them, especially of whatever actions they're doing, which then actually emboldens extremism against them. So, in my opinion, isn't this kind of counterproductive, where you're actually leading to more marginalization than actually reducing it?
By the same token, wouldn't it be counterproductive to come out as gay at all?
I mean, I don't mind if like you're gay. Like, for example, I mean, right, I don't know if this is
you don't want to broadcast that, right? Because then you're putting yourself into the crosshairs, right? You wouldn't want to broadcast that, so you should just stay in the closet.
Isn't there a difference? Hey, I mean, isn't there a difference between, like, you know, just saying, "Hey guys, I'm gay," and, like, you know, doing like a massive drag show in front of like a lot of people, especially if they don't really agree with it? Isn't there like a massive difference between the two?
There's a difference, but like, what do you mean don't agree with it? So like, what if I don't agree with like amusement parks and I don't want those around? Should they tear down the amusement parks? Should they, like, drag is fine. Drag is just, you know, people dressing outside of their typical gender norms, and usually to a flamboyant degree. But it's just a show.
Yeah, I get that. That's fair. But like, you know, I mean, if you go back to the amusement park analogy, like, for example, if you have an amusement park right in the middle of, like, you know, a suburb where it's quite quiet and most residents don't really want any sort of, like, you know, noise, or they don't actually want this, well, it's probably best that you don't put an amusement park there. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's just my view. Listen, that's just my view of thinking about it.
Okay, but if you're having a pride parade in a public area, I don't think there's a problem with that inherently.
No, yeah, inherently, I agree with you. But the thing, what I believe in is, I'm not saying that it's legally wrong, but I'm just saying, doesn't it actually attract more attacks to you? Like, for example, BLM is a really good example of this.
Right,
racism is a big problem, especially in America. Hold on, let me finish.
Sure.
It's a very big problem in America, and I fully agree with it. But I kind of feel BLM just amplified it because, you know, the whole George Floyd thing, and then you had those massive protests and stuff, which did lead to some level of looting. I'm not saying everyone did it, which is kind of a lie, a blatant lie, but that did somewhat amplify people's feelings. Like, you know, the whole white guilt thing and all that stuff, which did eventually lead to people to go more extreme. And, you know, Trump came in again. All that stuff kind of happened because of BLM. Like, you know, I'm not saying that what BLM did was wrong, but how they did it.
Okay, well, then it wasn't.
Situation, you know
but then it wasn't because of BLM. Then it was because there were bad actors who did those things, right? Like, yeah, to say it was because of BLM is to say BLM did something wrong. You
No, no, I'm
understand
not
that, right?
saying. Yeah, I'm not saying BLM did something wrong. I'm not saying the gay
Okay.
people themselves did something wrong. But I'm saying this attracts that kind of crowd, which then just amplifies, more extreme voices against you. To, well, push their own agenda, and
Okay, but
people generally tend to look at that. You know what I mean?
again, I go back to my just stay in the closet argument. Just stay in the closet. Then you won't attract any hate, right?
But listen, I'm not saying you just need to stay in the closet. Like for example,
I know you're not
if
saying
someone
that.
came
I'm
up to me,
saying, okay, hold on. I know you're not saying that. I understand. What I'm telling you is
yeah,
that is where your logic leads. Just stay in the closet, and that way you won't have to worry about people hating you. That's where your logic leads. Do
but
you understand that?
but, but I didn't tell you to just stay in the closet, though. Either,
I'm not, okay. Let me try again.
huh?
I'm not saying that you said to stay in the closet, and I'm not ascribing that belief to you. What I'm saying is that is where your logic eventually ends up. Does that make sense?
Kind of, but also at the same
Okay.
time, are you not missing my point a little? I'm not saying
No.
that. Yeah, I'm not saying you should just go to one end of an extreme. Like you should just be closeted, or this either. Like, can't you just take the middle route? But like, hey guys, I'm gay. You know what I mean? Just treat me like a normal person, I guess. And yeah, that's it. Isn't that more of a middle route, which would make sense?
Okay, but you're still going to attract hate, right? There's still
Yeah, but
people
it wouldn't
who are
be.
going to hate
Yeah, but it
you.
wouldn't be as bad as this. You know what I mean?
Okay, so
Listen, if it
a
was
little
still
hate's fine.
listen, if it is a hate which can be countered effectively to a point where not everyone just buys into it instantly, or for example, which could just quadruple or like double in size every electoral term. If that's not the case, well, yeah, it should be fine, right? Come on, we need to combat hate, but also at the same time empower people in the right way.
Okay, but what's the right way if not like like again, you said there's nothing wrong with the pride parade. So if there's nothing wrong with it, then people shouldn't be out here like you're saying, "Oh, you're going to attract hate." Sure. And I appreciate and recognize that fact. You know, you are going to attract haters to a pride parade just by virtue of having one, because there are people who hate gay people, and they're not going to hate gay people any less because you don't throw a pride parade.
Yeah, listen, I'm not disagreeing with each other, but my point is you don't want those people to start swaying public opinion to their side because they can more easily just cherry pick the shittier stuff you do. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not saying that that's what most people, gay people, do, but at 1 in like 1,000, right? Those guys, the more they come in, they're going to amplify that. That 1 in 1,000, even if that's like 100 in 1,000 at max, those guys are really going to pick up on that, especially if it's more marketed. If the parades are going bigger, they're getting bigger, right? They're they're on national TV, all that stuff, right? There's going to be more attention, and people are going to nitpick even further, right? And this is something really good with, like, for example, like racism to like specific groups of people. Like, for example, like the whole Trump administration's been. I mean, I'm not saying Trump does it, but like a lot of Tyler Oliveira, Nick Fuentes,
Mm-hmm.
those guys, they really cherry pick from a lot of different nations, right? Tyler Oliveira does that to, a lot of South Asians, Indians, Bangladeshis, Pakistanis. He does that to them. Nick Fuentes even kind of does to Latinos, but which is ironic because he's a Latino himself. But all that stuff kind of happens because they're being put on a spotlight, which ends up amplifying the hate against them. Do you see what I mean? Won't it be better if it just felt like it's just a part of
Okay.
normal life?
But once again, okay, but there was a time when being gay itself was not part of normal life, quote unquote. You understand that, right? So my point is your logic inevitably leads to just stay in the closet, don't be gay. Or at least don't
Wait,
outwardly be
hold on,
gay.
sorry. Someone else wants to come up. Can we just go? But let's finish off our section quickly. I do agree with you on most points, though.
You got time. I know Chainsaw Chimera. That's
right.
Chainsaw Chimera is trying to come up to debate you. Well, that's up to you.
Oh, is he coming up to me? Yeah, sure, man. I don't know. I don't really care.
Sure. We'll let Chainsaw Chimera talk for a bit. You coming up? There you go. All right, Chainsaw, come here. You're up.
Yeah. So before I start, can you repeat your main premise again, please? I just want to make
Me or Alex? Sorry.
then you did, Mouse.
Oh, that's right. So my main premise is just, well, I don't think LGBT the LGBT community should be scrutinized, or they shouldn't be, well, gay people in general. Like if you're gay, that's completely fine. It's just the overexposure of that is kind of counterproductive to just making sure that they are comfortable in society, and we should probably dial it back down so that it just fits in with a more well with a more normal image, and thereby people won't get targeted as much, and people can actually live normally. That's just my thing.
So, out of curiosity, right? Even ignoring the more exaggerant or exuberant behaviors that you'll find at like not just a pride parade, but any kind of parade, regardless of whether or not it's from a minority or majority population. Like, I'm sure that you're from if I might ask, where are you from again? Are you from the
UK.
United States? The UK.
Yeah, I
So,
live in the UK. Yeah.
yeah, so you're aware of like the rowdiness that you'll find in like at football gatherings and
Oh yeah,
whatnot. Yes?
yeah. Me. I just
Yeah.
saw the Prem final. Arsenal. I mean, when Arsenal won the league, yeah, it was chaos. Yeah, I understand.
Right. So, but that doesn't lower any kind of standard or any kind of judgment toward the people that
I mean,
attend.
to be honest, they are kind of judged. Like a lot of people who watch football and stuff, right? Like football hooligans. A lot of those guys will come from like lower class incomes. Those guys are like like a lot of like, oh, you bloody scouser, fuck off. You know what I mean? You're gonna come in here, you're gonna break everything. That still kind of happens. Like, but the thing
Yeah,
is,
but that's
it's
just
not
more about
generalized to everyone. It's more
Sorry.
like a very specific part of the UK. So it kind
Yeah,
of does
exactly.
happen.
So it's more about those specific cases, not the group, the culture of footballness itself, right? Or even the people that attend football.
I mean, kind of and kind of not. I mean, it's a bit complicated with the whole like north and south divide of England, and it kind of mixes in with that. But I'd say it's kind of both, where like people kind of hate football themselves, like
Okay.
because, it leads to hooliganism and all that stuff. Whereas some people like,
All right.
oh,
Yeah.
it's not
Now I
football,
get.
it's those specific people who are making it bad. So yeah,
All right.
it's kind of both.
Okay. So when we're talking about something like the pride parades, and we'll focus on the pride parades themselves, not the BLM. That's a totally different nature.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Right. So the pride parades. Why do you think the pride parades even exist in the first place?
Well, listen, I'm not saying that doing a pride parade is wrong. If that's what you're trying to get.
Okay, hold
No,
on.
that's not.
Nobody here is saying that you are saying that pride parades and being gay is wrong. Period. Do we have that covered?
All right, that's fine.
Okay,
hey, I'm just double checking,
just
man.
making sure.
I don't want someone like misquote me. That's it.
Okay.
Right, and nobody's going you. I'm just asking
I promise
if you.
Nobody here is going to say that. We got it.
Okay, listen, I don't disagree with a pride parade. Like, if a pride parade were to happen, that's fine. It's just, does it need to be to a point where so much of a spotlight is spread on it, or just pride in general? Like, you have your Pride Month thing, everything is just, in like rainbows and all that stuff, which in theory should be fine. But again, this leads to that scrutiny where, especially like the smallest minority of LGBTQ people who are quite extreme in their views, they're being picked up on, they're being cherry picked, and then they just say, "Hey, everyone's like that." That's
So I'll ask
that's being amplified.
So I'll ask two things. I mean, one is just general. Do you know why pride parades exist? But then the second one is more based on like the bureaucracy of why they even appear in the first place. But we'll focus on the first one. Do you know why pride parades are a thing in the first place?
because gay people weren't really allowed. Well, people of LGBTQ identity couldn't really show themselves in the past.
Yeah, more or less. So there was a lot of discrimination to the point where you had even in some cases in the modern day, you have instances where people's lives get taken, and because of their identity, their perpetrators are given lighter or their crimes are even dismissed.
Mhm.
It's to show that there is some level of solidarity and some level of support along with, and again, whether or not you agree with the more out there examples of leather straps and cod pieces, that they ought to feel some level of pride for themselves and for their existence. That it's more of a resilience than just, oh, look at us doing degenerate stuff. Look at the tassels. It's just showing, hey, we exist. Hey, we're part of society. Let us be as exuberant or as subtle as everyone else is. Simple as that. Now, with
Yeah,
that said,
yeah. Okay, go on. Yeah,
ignore. Yeah, now that's the historical side. Now, do you know how? And this is the more boring part. Do you know how they're even able to have these kind of pride parades in the first place?
the government allows it.
It's
Like, wait,
not
you gotta
simply
ask
the
government.
government allows it. So generally, when you have these kind of parades, they have to go through a certain level of scrutiny. Now, scrutiny can be like whether or not it becomes like a rowdy uh, 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 horror show, but it's generally like, okay, you could be in this specific area in this specific town and do whatever you want, so long as you follow these ordinances. Like even we had not too long ago, and I'm not even saying I agree with this, but we had far right people have like their little parades here and there, not the ones that flock into what they called loading vans and loading trucks. But I mean, we had like there were far right people that were commentators
Yeah,
that had
isn't
their.
this like the Proud Boys thing?
No, I'm not just talking about the Proud Boys. No, the Proud Boys are more of like a shock troop kind of thing. They just appear to do whatever. No, they actually had like actual permits and whatnot. So what I'm saying is that when you have these pride parades, they're not as chaotic and socially disruptive as people might think that they are. They
Yeah,
are as
exactly.
tame as they could possibly be, even with the leather strap. Again, I like going back to the leather straps. It's just there. We all acknowledge that. But what
Yeah,
I'm saying is that there is standards and practices that are being met when these parades and when these gatherings occur. You will find
yeah,
like crazier stuff at an anime convention than you would in comparison to a gay pride parade.
yeah. Which I don't disagree with. Listen, I mean, I do agree with your point that the rules and regulations are being attended to, and this is all going on, which I completely agree with. Fine, but the my point still comes in with the fact that because you still say that hey, we know what's happening. A lot of the people who come in and try to defame them, it's not that difficult for them to just cherry pick those one sides and then just say it, right? The,
Well,
the
by
thing is,
definition,
listen, I
well,
mean,
by
and the
def,
other thing is, hold on, let me finish off. The other thing is I disagree with where even if the right wing comes in, and even if they have legal permits and stuff, right? If they still come in and just say like, haha, kill all the Jews. If they just literally say it out loud, well, that's still way too extreme. And even if that's like, one guy out of like, 1,000 of them saying it, that's still too extreme and that should be enforced upon, right? Same exact
so
logic applies here. That's what I'm going to
well,
say.
well, okay, it was back in the 60s or 70s. There was a instance involving the was it the Klan or some other neo-Nazi group? They went into a Jewish neighborhood and started to push their anti-Semitism. They got sued, but they were then what was it? They were represented by the was it no, it was the ACLU. That became a landmark case that upheld not only certain free speech protections, but it also upheld even how many of these groups, these far right groups, can conduct themselves, along with how the dissenters of these groups are allowed to their discouragement. Now, with
I mean,
that said, these
yeah,
kinds of
sorry.
this kind of situation also applies largely to as you would call them far left, or in this case, just the more outlandish stuff. Now, you were talking about representation and how such instances can be used. Let's be real. You use the term cherry picking. So, by that standard, because something has to be cherry picked, it has to be a minority of a minority being exaggerated to a grander image. Basically, the Count Dankula view of evidence, where someone shows enough footage, therefore that footage is representative of an entire event. When people do that, they're doing that because of a larger narrative. It doesn't matter whether or not you're going to have 10 gay people and one person is doing something weird. They're going to use that as an example. But then again, their whole narrative is to use whatever they can as an example to promote their narrative. It doesn't matter if the person is as exaggerated as that one instance at a gay pride parade, or if it's some person on TikTok that says something weird, or if it's even just a regular person doing regular stuff, and that person that doesn't like gay people is still gonna take it out of proportion, or rewrite the history and context of what that normal person is doing. People are gonna act and push certain things to attack certain groups of people. It doesn't matter what the actions of a person within that minority are doing. That's the problem. That's part of the problem that I have with this argument. That even if you can find something about gay people acting unwise at a gay pride parade, the
Right, you're always gonna
homophobes
have
or
bad
transphobes or
actors.
whatever are still going to have. Yeah, it's still about bad actors that are preying on people regardless. And then you have people that follow these people that also don't care about the context or even care about the humanity of these people. That
Okay,
are
I'm
still
gonna.
going to be all like, yeah, sorry.
No, just real quick. I'm gonna let Deadmau7 after you're done. I'm gonna let Deadmau7 respond.
No, I'm
And
done. I'm
then
done. At this point, I think I'm just rambling and.
No, it's all right. I get it. I mean, to be honest, I was listening to your points. Listen, I'm not disagreeing with a lot of things you said.
well, I was just gonna
Right.
say real
I
quick.
understand that the
I wanted to
empathy.
continue my 1v1 with Deadmau7, so I'm gonna let you back down, Chainsaw Chimera,
Oh,
if that's
sorry.
okay. So
Oh, okay, that's right, yeah.
I'm out.
yeah, no, you're fine. So Deadmau7, go ahead.
Oh well, I mean, going back to the previous points by Chainsaw and also yours, I'm not denying that what is going on is technically wrong. I'm not saying that especially that minority of a minority is being exaggerated. I'm not saying that's not happening. In fact, I do agree with that. But well, my whole thing is if you've got enough of if you got easily available footage, I mean, to a point where it's palatable for everyone to just see what's truly going on, and if you make it more marketable in a sense of it's more relatively normal to social norms, won't it actually be much easier to disprove it? So someone comes in, let's say for example, Nick Fuentes comes and say, "Oh hey, all the gays want to come in and they want to transition your kids," right? That's because these 5 guys said it in this parade. But then national TV, you could just see those were 5 guys, were out of 10,000, and the majority of the 10,000 were completely normal people like you or me, to a point where they were even wearing the exact same clothes, and they look completely normal, and they did not support any of these beliefs.
But
they
there was a
hardly sided
time.
them.
But there was a time when none of this was normal. Okay, quote unquote normal.
Yeah,
It wasn't
I'm not
normal to be
denying
gay.
that. I agree
It
with
wasn't
you.
normal to be trans. None of it. Okay, it was not normal, and so that alone drove people to hate. Okay, and we've reached a point, thankfully, in society, which is unfortunately thanks to the conservatives being backtracked. But at the very least, we've reached the point where gay marriage is legal, and people, you know, at least for gay people, they kind of accept that, like, you know, they exist, and there's, even if you don't like them, there's nothing you can really do about it. So you might as well just live and let live. But that's, you know, the mentality that you have, to me, sounds like the liberal middle of the line. Well, we need to just like dial it in, right? Dial it in so that people won't hate us as much. It's not, it's literally about breaking the mold, about showing people that what we consider normal doesn't have to be like limited, you know?
I mean,
like,
listen,
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, finish your point.
No, it's fine. I finished. I was just rambling.
I get that, but also at the same time, that's kind of a very difficult argument to actually produce when the majority of people have already kind of just said, "Listen, we're willing to go to this far," but then at a point where it kind of comes to a point where our own lives and our own worldviews are being disrupted to a point of, well, what we really don't need, but it's still being disrupted to a point which we didn't even want in the first place. Isn't that just going to fuel more hostility? Like, it's like you're slingshotting
Man,
backwards.
no, stop. I've already addressed this argument. If you want the least amount of hostility possible, simply don't be gay. Just don't be gay. So if you want to not fuel hostility, just don't be gay. Period.
But
that's where it leads. That's where it leads every time.
Huh?
Just don't be gay. And that way you won't draw any hostility. Right?
Well,
or at least stay closeted.
Huh?
I'm not okay. I'm not saying that you're saying this. Once again, I am saying.
I'm saying this. Listen.
Okay.
Wait, no, listen. Do you understand my point? Listen, I'm saying that
I understand your point, and I'm telling you.
Wait.
I understand your point. I've addressed it.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not. Yeah, and you should. Yeah, I'm not. And I'm not saying that people already like, you know, oh, I don't want gay people to marry. Is most people literally just saying, I don't want gay marriage? No, those people don't openly say that. I mean, they don't openly say that because, one, they don't agree with that statement, or two, they don't want to share it, which we probably don't know, but I'd like to think it's the first one. And, well, that's probably, and gay marriage is already legalized, and just like you said, you can't really do anything about it, right? So, are we already kind of at the norm where people should just feel people are being welcomed? Like, you know what I mean? Why do you really want to test the water on this to a point?
But the fact that you call it testing the water is the problem. You call it testing the water. Why is it testing the water? What are you talking about? Everything's fine. People like gay people. Where they're accepted. What's the problem? Gay parades are fine.
Right? Testing the water is in the sense of, like, you know, you got your Nick Fuentes, your Olivieras. They're gonna come in and exactly what I just said. They're gonna come in and amplify the most negative aspects of it to a point where you've already had those people who are accepting and stuff. Those guys are just going to flip completely to the other side, especially if they get more paranoid about this.
Okay, let me walk you through this.
That's kind of how most people voted for Trump, especially like the tariffs and shit. Where even when most people who were functioning at those knew it was a bad idea and still voted for him, kind of did it because of this. Right?
Okay,
a lot of immigration policies, a lot
let's
of
walk
tariffs
through
and
this.
stuff.
So I am fine with gay people. I'm a guy who's fine with gay people and gay marriage and whatnot. But I see a pride parade. And then at the pride parade, something happens that Nick Fuentes decides to focus in on, like some idiot saying, I think we should genocide the straights. Right? And now, as a guy who previously was okay with gay marriage, now I'm like, well, now I don't think they should have rights. Now
I'm not going to openly say that, but would I be more inclined as a straight man? Like, listen, in theory, if Nick Fuentes can parrot this enough, in time, I'm not immune to propaganda. You're not immune to propaganda. No one here is.
I understand that.
In basic human psychology.
Okay, why is this guy watching Nick Fuentes, by the way? Why is he watching Nick Fuentes if he's, like, okay with gay people? What are you talking about?
If I just go through, like, Instagram or TikTok, eventually I'm going to see the guy. And it's not in Nick Fuentes. It could be like hundreds, thousands of people parroting it.
Then
it's the loudest voice, right?
Okay, but then I'm understand that, yes, as a gay person, you should not say we should genocide the straights. Okay, that's a bad thing to do and say. But at the same time, it's like that's one idiot. And if you're at all smart and at all an ally, you should understand that as just one idiot. Okay.
Yeah,
I know. This is not complicated.
I know it's an idiot.
You're appealing.
I know it's an idiot. Fair, but not does everyone there would like does everyone there would take the time and just read between the lines to say no? Most people are gonna look at it on face value and then just say, "Oh shit, he's saying something," and then they're gonna go in. This is kind of how stupid decision. That's how populists come into power most of the time, because people look at stuff in face value.
No, populists come into power because people are idiots and start to follow them, and they already had preconceived notions about minorities like gay people. Okay, they already had them. So you can say that you're fine with gays and whatever else, but if one idiot makes you homophobic, you probably weren't that okay with gays to begin with.
Mate, it's not just only one Nick Fuentes. For every Nick Fuentes, there's 100 or 1,000 of groypers and other extremists on the other side. That's not only for the right, on the left, the extreme left, the extreme left. They all kind of have their own stuff, and it's in mass numbers.
The problem is with the media. The problem is with Nick Fuentes himself. You should be getting on Nick Fuentes' case for pointing out that one guy and saying this is all gay people. Why do you not get on Nick Fuentes' case?
I mean, Nick Fuentes is a good example for the outreach he has. I'm not saying that he is
so Nick Fuentes is at fault, not the Pride Parades.
Many others just like him.
Okay, but Nick Fuentes is at fault, and all those other people who are like him are at fault, not the Pride Parades, right?
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Okay.
I'm not saying the Pride Parades themselves are wrong. But I'm saying, do you really want to make these guys, do you really want to give them the open goal in the sense of, delegitimizing your side? I mean, even if it's true or not, they get an open goal. Do you see what I mean?
I understand what you're saying. My point is still, if you want to minimize the hate against you, just stay in the closet. Like they did in the 80s. Just stay in the closet. Like, you're talking about minimizing the hate. The hate is always going to, I mean, hopefully not always, but for the time being, the hate's going to be there, okay? Regardless. So you might as well just be as outwardly, openly gay as possible in whatever way you so choose. The whole point of Pride is self-expression, okay? It is the maximum, what's the word? It's the maximum expression of your First Amendment right for gay people.
All right, fine. All right, listen. I don't
put someone else on. Okay, I'll give you.
How about
hold on? We got some people. Real quick. I'll let you go. Hold on. I'll let you go.
Yeah, sorry.
We have some other people who want to come on. I'll give you
that's
5 more minutes.
No, it's all right. I can do it right now because chat's gonna get in a bit. They really want to get in, so it's all right. I'll that's what I was gonna tell you.
Go ahead and
move on.
Gotcha. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to. Okay, no, go ahead and give me your final thoughts, and we'll pull somebody else up.
The final thought says, I don't really disagree with your points. To be honest,
sure.
A lot of your points, I kind of agree with it. I'm not saying I don't. It's just the main thing is I kind of just disagree on how it should be portrayed. But that's kind of it, I guess. But listen, I'd move on quickly because other people want to join in.
Okay, well, I appreciate you coming up and talking. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
All right, take care.
All right, it was a nice shot. Yeah, take care as well.
Okay, raise your hand if you would like to go next. And the only reason that I kept talking with him is because hands were not raised. Hold on, let me stop the recording. The only reason I continued talking to him is because hands were not raised, so I assume nobody else wanted to come up. But if you want to come up, raise your hand. How to raise hand? I'll pull you up.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello, how are you?
Hey, I'm fine.
Okay,
what about
cool.
you?
Doing all right, thank you.
So
you
just
wanted to come
thing,
up? Yeah, go ahead.
I joined halfway, so I may need a little bit of context. I heard a bit of the conversation that you had earlier. Can you give me just a quick rundown on the topic and what you think about?
Sure. So what we were discussing earlier, and we can talk about whatever you'd like. We're focusing on pride and gay trans rights, but
okay. So
anything pertaining to that is fine if you'd like to discuss that. But what we were talking about in the previous conversation is we were sorry, I'm playing a game at the same time. I just lost. We were talking about pride parades, and basically my opponent seemed to say, well. And I'm not trying to mischaracterize, so if you're still in the comments, feel free to correct me. My opponent was saying, well, why would we go out and, make a big issue out of something that is already, we have gay marriage accepted. We have people, who largely accept gay people and, largely trans people. But why go out and do the pride parades when all that's going to do is draw hate? Like from people like Nick Fuentes and the like, who are going to point out bad actors and say, well, that's what all of them are like. And my assertion against that was, why not just say, my main assertion was, why not just stay in the closet then? If you're worried about people hating you, like just tell people to stay in the closet so that they don't get any hate.
I think I am in the middle of your positions. Let me explain. In one way, I do agree with the other guy, as in, like, usually Pride Parade or this sort of showcase of being gay or LGBT, it was useful when they didn't have any rights, and so it had some sort of purpose, I would say. Let me know if you agree or disagree. But nowadays, that in most, if not all, Western democracies, the rights that they've been asking for, it's been given to them. And it's not like saying just don't say that you're gay, but my argument would be just keep it to yourself, like other, like cis people keep it to themselves. Like, they don't need to go parade around about how cisgender they are. I don't see why for LGBT people there is still a need to parade this around, where it should be just their own business and keep it to their bedroom.
Well, it's just a celebration, right? It's, we're gay, we're proud. And there was a time when we couldn't be proud.
Yeah, but but right now they have all of those rights. Why the necessity to parade it around? Like, it was useful when they didn't have any rights, to make it known to people that they needed to have those rights. But now those steps have already been reached. So I could
argue against they have all the rights bit, but let's just assume that you're correct, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then they should be allowed to have the parades, no questions asked, right? Like, it's just fun for them.
Yeah, so would you be okay if there was some, like, a cis person parade or some kind?
I can try. I probably, just based on the types of people who would do that, I probably wouldn't attend, just because it'd be mostly about hating trans people. But
forget about the type of people, because for every group you can find good people and bad people. Just in general, would you be okay if there was, other than a Pride Month, a cisgender month?
I wouldn't care that much. I think that it would be very low attendance, because when were cis people ever, like, disenfranchised? What's the point of celebrating being cis? What's the point? Like, sell me on this parade a little bit, because I just feel like it'd be boring. And
that is weird. My exact point. And in the same way that you now are kind of neutral and don't really care about parading because it is so normal being cis, at the same time, I think today being gay has been normalized enough that same behavior of being, like, neutral to this, without neither celebrating it nor hating it, just being a normal aspect of life. This one should be the same thing for LGBTQ plus people.
Right, but just don't go to Pride. It's fine. You can stay home. Yeah, I don't always go to Pride parades. I find many aspects of the Pride parades boring, so I usually don't go.
Oh, I mean, I am usually not the type of guy who goes on parades in general, but I can see how some people may have some issues with certain Pride parades, especially when there are some parades that can be some pretty explicit in some way. And I know you might say, well, that is just a few people and they are not representative of the entire parade. But I think the main issue is not necessarily the amount of people that like walk around half naked across the street, or even maybe bring children with them while dressed up in some kink weird stuff. I think the main problem is people who are in support of that type of behavior. And I think that is one of the main problems that some people have when talking about pride parades, and why they tend to have a certain reputation compared to other types of parades.
Okay, I mean, like there are plenty of cultural elements of straight. There's plenty of straight culture things that are also like that happen in public that are also questionable. Like just take Hooters for instance. You're allowed to can just take your kids to Hooters, and I've seen straight people do it and take weird pictures and stuff. And even the beach, like you can argue,
I'm not,
people wear scanty clothes at the beach, which they do.
Yeah. I'm not
So
too
I just
familiar
like
with-
there are going to be elements of pretty much every culture that are questionable for children to be around, but like pride is not.
I'm not too familiar
special.
with the Hooters. I'm not too familiar with Hooters because I'm not American. Can you give me some idea on what,
Sure,
what is it about?
The name Hooters is referring to boobs, like women's boobs. So like everybody,
Okay.
pretty much all the employees there are young women with very revealing tops and short shorts. That's their uniform, and people can just stroll in and take their kids there. I mean, it's a very sexualized place, and you can just take your
Are
kids
they?
there.
Yeah, but are they as sexualized as some of the pride parades have been?
Sure, absolutely.
Are they?
The whole place was founded on being sexualized. Like, there's a reason that there's no like guy employees. You know what I mean? Very few. I've never seen any
So
myself.
it is possible. So it is possible to walk into Hooters and find the people in leather BDSM type of suits and stuff like that.
Not leather BDSM, no.
Yeah, that is one of the things
Is that where you
people,
draw the
I
line?
think, have. I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean,
Okay.
if you
I
find me
mean-
some examples of sexualization in Hooters that is on the same level as some of the kink stuff that you can find in pride parades, then yeah, I would be against Hooters as well.
I
But
just
From what?
like there might be some kink stuff at pride parades, but like okay, don't take your kids if you don't want them to see that. Like kink stuff happens out in public all the time, and it's by all kinds of people, and sometimes kids are going to see that, and I'm not saying that they should see that or that it's a good thing, but I just don't think it's like this big deal that people make it out to be. I don't buy that. Like most of pride
mean-
is just people celebrating being gay and trans. That's what pride is.
Yeah. I get the concept, but I don't think most people who are against gay prides are against the celebration per se, other than maybe the reason I gave, which is the how necessary it is, since now gay people have, I think, most if not all of the rights that they asked for given to them. So, and don't get me wrong, it's not only
Okay, then they should be allowed to
cis
celebrate
that are-
pride parades. Like they should be allowed to have them, and have them however they want. Like as if they're not showing, I don't think they should be fully nude. But like people wear thongs at beaches. Like I'm sorry, I just don't
Yeah, but-
buy that
yeah,
it's like
but
that
beaches-
big of a deal.
Yeah, but beaches is a different context. Like if you go in a swimsuit,
Okay, well
you
then a
go
pride
for just
parade's a
to
different
swim.
context. A pride parade's a different context. There you go.
Yes,
That's all there
it's
is
a
to it.
different context, but the context itself is the problem. One thing if you go to the beach and you wear a costume and you're half naked because you need to swim. Another thing is if you go to a parade in the same type of manner, if not even more exposed, for a context that is inherently sexual. The difference is kind of a big deal.
A
don't you
thong
think?
isn't inherently sexual.
I mean, in pride parades, I think it is. It has more sexual connotation compared to simply being at the beach. Don't you agree?
Okay, but people wear like thong-like clothing. Even men do, like Speedos. Like people wear that stuff at the beach. It's very revealing. It's very sexualized in many contexts, but it's just allowed. It's
Yes,
and
because of the context itself, and you combine
Okay.
that with the more extreme cases and stuff like that. Like the
This is a
context,
double
I think
standard.
It makes a huge
you're
difference.
setting a double standard. It's fine at the beach. It's not fine in pride parades.
Yeah, standards are applied different contexts apply different standards. I mean, it's pretty normal. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like
All
it
you're
is
saying is that
normal
it's
for
fine in
different-
one place and not in another. Why? Because they're gay? Like that's the only
No,
reason I can
because
think.
because the context in the pride parade is inherently sexual.
Okay, because
in
they're not
nature.
at the beach. So
Whereas-
all pride parades take place at the beach, right? Then we're good.
No, because
No.
because you don't do a pride parade in the beach because
Why
you want
not?
to go to the beach. You want to go to a pride parade because you want to express your sexuality. So the
Okay, so then do it at the beach.
core. No.
What's the problem?
You didn't understand. The core of the reason why you do the parade itself, not necessarily the location. It's the intention in which you do the gathering in the first place. If you
Okay,
do
so
a
it's the
gathering
intention.
in the
So
beach
what's the intention of a pride
Yes.
parade?
to celebrate their own sexuality,
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
it is nothing wrong with the intention, but
Okay.
with
Okay.
how
then do it at the beach, and then as long as it's at the beach, because people wear sexualized outfits at the beach, as we've said, but the context is what's important. So as long as all the pride parades are at the beach, we should have no problem, right?
it's not necessarily sexualized at the beach if the reason you use it is to go to take a
At
bath.
Kent's Peak 465
sunbathe.
became a member.
It's
Sorry,
not the
so-
same thing.
Okay, it's not the same thing, but why not? Because
What do you mean, why not?
they're wearing they're wearing revealing clothes at the beach, right? People do
Yes.
that. Okay, they wear revealing clothes at Pride. People do that, right? At Pride parades
Yes, for different reasons.
for different reasons. But you're saying I don't care about the reason. Why does the reason matter?
Well,
You're saying
the
it's fine
reason
to do it at
does-
the beach.
the reason does matter, I think. Like if I walked, well, let me try and make a more hypothetical, a more fitting example. It's like one thing if I make a totally different example, but the concept is the same. One thing is if I bring a gun at a shooting range. Another thing is if I bring a gun at a school or at a public place. Like the action is the same, and technically maybe in those places you can do the same action, but the concept completely changes the dynamic of the situation. I think like just because you can do both things in the same location doesn't mean that the intention or the reaction that some people have must be the same.
Okay, you bring a gun to a shooting range to shoot targets, which are going
Yes.
to be present at a shooting range.
In the same
So
way
if
that
you-
someone may bring a thong to a beach to swim.
To swim. Okay, so as long as they're all swimming, we can do a pride parade, right?
If the main intention of the gathering would be to swim, then it would not be
It's-
even called a pride parade.
Okay, but the difference with a gun is that people can die. Like, if you bring
That's
a gun to school, what you're basically doing is, like, there's no targets at the school that aren't, there are basically no targets that aren't people.
Yeah.
Or
the
school
reason why I
property at
don't
the very
think-
least. So, like,
the
you're,
reason-
like, it's an entirely
reason-
incongruent...
For the same
Huh?
For the same reason why I don't think people should bring a thong at the pride parade and only use it when they go to the beach to swim.
Okay, then all the
It-
pride
it's a
parades
really-
are in the water. Just do aqua, just do pride parades in the water then, right? That's fine.
I mean, it would be far better than just going into the
This is so
into
silly.
public
Like,
streets.
do you hear yourself though? You're saying it's fine if kids see scantily clad people in one context, right?
No,
Oh, it's
you're
fine in
talking
this
specifically
context.
about thongs, but if you want to include even like king stuff, I would just not allow it even in the beach. If that's what you are.
I have my issues. I
suggesting.
have a couple of issues with some of the things I've seen at Pride, but
Yeah.
what far
I
outweighs
think
that is people being homophobic. Okay, that's a way bigger problem. So it's
mean,
not that
Yeah,
pressing
but
to me.
I don't think most people who are against Pride Parade they are against Pride Parade because they are homophobic. I think most of people who are
Uh-huh.
against Pride Parade, or maybe not even fully against, but a little bit another Pride Parade. I think it's because of those instances, which how few, even if they may be quite few, I think they are very noticeable and they paint a really bad picture about Pride in general. And as I said, the main problem is not necessarily the presence of those people, but the support of all of the other people around it. Because you will always get the weirdo that does some stuff. But the problem with Pride Parade is that the other people defend those outliers.
Okay,
I think that if the
Mhm.
others just, I'm not saying kick them out, but just make it not acceptable to wear certain things or act in a certain way, I think it will paint a much better picture about pride parades in general.
Okay, if you want to have an adult-oriented pride parade, it should say that it is an adult-oriented pride parade. I agree with you. There are certain things at a pride parade that you shouldn't do, that people sometimes do anyway. I understand that. But public is not built for children, necessarily. Okay, things happen in public all the time that children aren't suited to see. So sometimes that'll happen at a pride parade. Sometimes that'll happen at a Denny's. So I don't buy this. Like it just sounds like it's because gay people are there. That's what it sounds like. It's because gay people are there, right?
No, it's not because gay people are there. I've already told you.
Then you're focusing in on this one area. That's the only thing that makes sense.
That is the area that I gave the major criticism, but unfortunately, it's the thing that tends to be the most noticeable. Like, it doesn't really matter if like 99% of whoever attends a pride parade is normal and doesn't act weird. If then they support that 1% that does very weird things. And you just said about children not belonging to the public spaces. There are some spaces that are public and that they don't belong to children. But I think we can both agree that a public road shouldn't be like off limits because for some children. Like if you want to do an adult public event, make it not in the main street where every other person may be.
If the people organizing that pride parade get permission from the city to use that street for whatever they so choose for an adult-oriented event, okay, as long as they're following laws, they should be allowed to do whatever they want there, and they can keep children out. Okay, yeah, and for most pride parades that children are allowed in, I think there should be a level of you know, you're not allowed to do this or that. Okay,
yeah.
Public decency, sure, we can say that, sure. There should be a level of that. But I'm not, I see people overly concerned about it, is the thing. And it seems to me that the only reason people are overly concerned about it in this one specific context is because there are queer people there.
No, I think the people are over concerned about this issue is because there are people overprotective of those instances. At least that's my impression. Like it's not necessarily because there are gay people, but because there are many people in the gay community that defend those types of behavior.
Sure.
And not because there are gay people, but I think there are many people among the gay community that support those kind of behaviors that you and I disagree with. So someone that would break, as you would call it, public decency, so to speak.
Okay.
Also, about the not renting, but get in touch with the city to get a road for a parade. I mean, that would be very similar to like a protest or stuff or something like that. I don't know how it is in the US, but at least where I live in, if you want to organize a protest, you get in touch with the city council and then organize the path that you need to go. But even then, that doesn't mean that road is to exclusive use of those who attend the event. Like other people unrelated to the event will inevitably still be there.
I understand that. So then you need to be clear about what you're going to be allowing.
So you can't really just say, oh, let's make this area for this event and make it known that it is for an adult audience, because there is always going to be
Yes, that is what you do. Sometimes you do that.
But there's always going to be like children or minors in that area anyway, for one reason or another. Maybe they live there. Maybe they, I don't know, get to go to groceries. I don't know. But it is a bit silly to expect everyone to just avoid because they can't help themselves but walk around in kink suits or whatever. Like
they usually don't do this in an area where people are living. This is a public area with shops and with all kinds of stuff.
To do it in the first place.
Huh?
I don't see the need to do it in the first place. Like, can't you just
Why not?
celebrate without doing
What's the
any
need to
weird
do
stuff?
anything? Just stay home and rot. What do you mean the need to do it? People want to do it.
I mean, yeah, people want to do many
Yeah.
things, but there are some things that we just say, no, you cannot. Like, what kind of
And there are
reasoning is
reasons
this?
for that.
Just
There are reasons for saying no, you cannot. What's your reason for saying no, you cannot have a pride parade?
I'm not saying not a pride parade, not a pride
Okay.
parade with those elements, with those elements of public indecency.
It is
If it was just
possible to keep
if it
children
was
out
just
of...
a regular,
Mhm.
if it was just a regular parade where people are walking in just like any other parade, I don't think no one would have a problem with it, except those very extremists like Nick Fuentes and stuff like that. But that is that's another issue. We are talking about pride parade in general, not those who hate gay people no matter what. I think most people who have a problem with pride parade is not because they hate gay people. That is all. That is all I want to say.
I don't... okay, sure. That's fine. I'm going to let somebody else up. Is there anything else you wanted to add before I do that?
No. I think I've said my piece. Hey,
Okay, sure.
Thank you
I
for
appreciate you
the-
coming up.
hey, no problem, man.
I mean, it's just the same argument. Like, I feel like I've addressed it. The amount of misinterpretation and reframing of reality after the internet thinking this is crazy. Why don't I just live in a basement somewhere 24/7? That's what I'm saying. Like, they have cis pride events. They suck. That's funny. Stop calling us inherently sexual. This is just the kink at pride discourse, but even worse. I can add something. I'll let you up real quick, Kitty, because Kitty, you're I'm pretty sure you're on my side, right? It's straight people coping about non-straight people. I know. Trust me, I know. I'm on the side of restriction. Who put their hand up first? Was it C King Dodo or was it Kitty ACC? I want to make sure I'm fair. It was Dodo first? Okay, thank you, Mace. I'm going to let Dodo up first. Hello, King Dodo?
It's working. Hello. Hello.
Yes, hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good. So what did you want to talk about today? We're talking about pride, we're talking about gay and trans rights, anything pertaining to queer issues, basically.
Well, since I was listening to the previous guy,
Sure.
I guess I should add upon what he was saying, or maybe clarify, because I heard talking about the whole, what's the word, the gay kink stuff and the parade stuff.
Kink at pride.
He was talking
yeah.
about the whole, what's it called, the beach things and modesty stuff. But I don't know. For me, I like to call myself a man of consistency. My values are consistent, but if other people are consistent, I'm fine with that too. Like, as in, if people are being publicly indecent, even if it's straight or gay, like if people are kissing in public, I'm like, do that moderately, you know? Even if it's like whatever. Like, I'm just very like more just keep that at home, regardless of anything. But
Sure.
to clarify on what the guy was talking about, I do feel like the context argument does matter, because if someone was wearing a swimsuit in one place comparative to somewhere else, it would matter a lot. Like if someone wore a swimsuit at the beach versus a swimsuit at work, even if you argue that it isn't really like inappropriate because in the workplace there should be no children unless you're working as like a carer or something. But
Okay,
like,
but,
why
yeah.
are you wearing a swimsuit at work? You know, like that's like the kind of argument I think he was going for. Because I'm just trying to clarify what he was going for there. Because it was less about the fact that it's these people doing it. It's about the fact that where they're doing it. Like, I already don't think people should be wearing thongs at all. But, you know, if he thinks people can wear that at beaches, fair enough. But I'm saying, you know, when you talk about Hooters as well, I say don't bring your kids to Hooters. You know, don't
Sure.
do that. You shouldn't bring your kids to Hooters. Like I'm consistent that way. You shouldn't bring your kids to Hooters. You know, kids should not be there, even if it's straight, whatever. Kids should not be at Hooters. When it comes to other things like what's it called? When it comes to the difference between, he was trying to talk about as well the gun laws in being to shoot in a shooting range versus in it's like out in public. For me, is that, of course, I know the argument he was trying to go on with there, but like, I feel like that was not the correct argument he was supposed to go for, because I feel like instead of trying to talk about like a gun law or something, it's more of like just consistency and about the children. Because if you're going to talk about how there's these certain bad faith actors, as he correctly identified, doing these certain actions, like being in a BDSM suit, being in a GIMP suit or whatever it is, then I feel like just arrest those bad actors and leave everyone else alone. Like, because I know everyone's trying to say, but if we do this and that, I mean, okay, you want to say something, you can say it. And I was just like, talking.
My question is, on what grounds are you arresting somebody who's wearing a GIMP suit? Because they're not showing anything.
Right. See, that's the thing I was trying to get at with the arresting. I should clarify so no one misunderstands. If you're gonna arrest something, like someone for something, of course, let it be a crime. But if someone's wearing a BDSM outfit, that's not illegal to just put on a BDSM outfit. I don't think so anyway. But like, for example, as I have seen some videos, like, believe me or not, I have seen some videos where there's people basically wearing nothing. I'm not sure how public indecency works, about how bad it can really get, if you have to be fully naked or not. But it was very revealing anyway, regardless.
Sure.
And then of course there was kids there. Now for me, even if the goal isn't to arrest them, which that's not the first thing everyone should have to jump for, but my first thing is, okay, let's remove the kids from there. That's my first point. Remove the kids from there. If there's like no kids there, then that's way less of a problem. Like I'm already half as concerned as I was before. I'm already concerned that much anymore, because it's just a bunch of people doing whatever they want, right? Like, yeah, you're wearing because even on the underground, you know, I'm British, whatever. In London Underground, I see some guy wearing some dog mask, beat or something. I'm like, I'm not gonna be like, go, someone sort this guy. I'm like, okay, so he's weird, but like, what am I gonna do? You know, that's the way I see it. If you're gonna be like, oh, well, the kid, just remove the kid, then there's way less of a problem. You know, it's way less of a problem. So for me, it's like, let's solve the problems we have, then worry about the fallout after. If there's a kid there, shouldn't be there, remove him. Then after that, whatever happens after that, you know, that's the thing. Because I know people trying to talk about Nick Fuentes, Tyler Oliveira. I don't know about this whole Tyler Oliveira, what he does, because I've only seen his Indian poop video, you know, that stuff. And I've seen, I think, Nick Fuentes, he's low-key crazy, some Jew hating, some guy, whatever. But from what I do know, and what can I acknowledge, is that if you're worried about what these other people, your critiques are going to say, they're going to create an argument out of anything anyway. Like, they're going to find something else. So why not remove just, even if you don't believe in it, just remove it. Like, okay, there's no kids here, now what's your problem? You know what I mean? Like, if there's no kids here, now what's your problem? If we're not, like, half naked on the street, now what's your problem? Because now it makes them look worse for trying to be angry at you, because there's nothing to get angry at. That's the way I see it. I'm like, if you're not doing anything wrong, then there's nothing to hide. Because, like, that's I don't know, I'm just a man of consistency that way. If there's no kids there, there's no anything bad there, you know, if there's nothing there, then okay, do I want everything in life to be kid friendly and stuff like that? No, not really. There's movies, age rating movies, 15, or in UK, 12A, 15, 18 plus, you know, those age ratings. You go to a movie, ask a ticket, you want to buy it, they'd be like, oh, you have to have a certain age rating to show this movie, you know, and then you go inside and you watch the movie. Like, there's appropriate times for certain things. Is everything supposed to be like, no, nothing forever, because there's going to be someone that could potentially get hurt? Of course not. Because just like for the fact that we have cars, someone can get run over by a car. Does that mean no one should drive a car anymore? No. It just means that we shouldn't let people run across the street for no reason. So people found solutions. Okay, let's create traffic lights so people can have time to cross the road in certain places. So there's a time and a place to cross the road so cars are aware. That's like the way I see it. You know, there's still a problem, there's a solution. So if there's a problem, which is these people, these degenerates, right? Let's call them what they are, degenerates doing certain things, because there's normal people that go to these things that don't do these things. So let's separate into these.
Call them what they are, but that term is loaded. Okay, so I personally wouldn't use that term. I understand what you mean, but you know, I'm just saying.
Okay, let's not call them whatever. But for me, it's like, if I see someone doing something objectively questionable, you should look at them in a different light compared to someone that's not doing said thing. Like, if just some gay guy with a gay fly walking down the street, whatever, But if it's some half-naked dude with a BDSM suit, whatever, of course I'm gonna look at him sideways, like, what is he trying to do? Like, I'm not saying, oh, let's all do something right now, but like, there's a valid question to ask. What is he trying to do? If someone says he just wants to have fun, whatever, fine, let him have fun. But for me, it's like, is a reasonable concern for someone to look at someone like this and be like, well, what's he really trying to do out here? Because if you point the finger towards everyone and be like, oh, he's a predator, we're diluting the word. Because I'm against calling everyone just a pedo every now and again. Like, you're diluting the word. Let's keep it until we get like the guy, and like, if we have something, call him that. But if he's not that, let's chill out. Like, we're gonna waste this word, you know.
Sure.
We're meant to use it with the real case. So what I'm trying to say is, everything in moderation, time and place for everything. People should be aware of how certain things perceive them as. Like, if you're gonna be speeding down the streets, even though people are free to drive however fast they want, there's a certain place and certain time where it says go 60 miles per hour, go 70 miles per hour. No one says you can exceed that amount of time. You're not allowed to just go 80 miles per hour. Oh, what's the harm? He's already on the highway anyway. But we know that he's meant to go 70. So it's the same way. We know that you're not meant to do that at this place. So let's be respectful and just not do that in this place. Even though you can do whatever you want, the argument isn't don't drive. It's that you can drive, just don't go above 70 miles per hour in this place. You can drive, but on the main road, don't go above 30 miles per hour. That's like, I feel like what Padex was trying to say. Because like, I think like he was not really articulating it correctly there, but I feel like this is what he was trying to say. Like, look, you can do this, you can do that, just here in this place at this time for this reason. If someone says, oh, do I need a reason to go to a pride parade? Truth be told, you don't. I don't like going to parties. I don't like these like crowded events. I'm not that kind of guy. I don't like going to them. So I don't even see the purpose. If someone invites me to the birthday party, chances are I won't even turn up. So that's like the kind of guy I am. So I can objectively, I'm already more disposition to be disagreeing with it, but I can objectively see why someone would want to go because they want to have fun. Okay, fine, you can go. What are you doing at said parade? If bro says I'm gonna put on a BDSM suit and then go talk to some kids, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I'm gonna.
I
like, it's a fair
understand,
question.
right?
What are you doing? Like,
No,
like,
I,
you have
I
to just.
agree,
I mean,
right?
for me, it's
I
like,
don't think it's a good thing for people to put on a BDSM suit and then go talk to kids. I too would question what they're doing. You know, especially like even if they're at a pride event, like I don't think that like if you're in a BDSM outfit at a pride event and you squat down and start talking to children about it, I don't agree with that. I don't think that should happen. Okay, but what I am saying is that I don't think this is as big of a problem as people make it out to be. Like, people know, like, most people understand those boundaries when they are in a public space, right? And wearing a BDSM outfit in itself, you're not revealing anything. Like, I guess depending on the context, sure, you can argue that, like, that person shouldn't be wearing that, like, in a restaurant, you know, and the restaurant owner has the right to kick them out, okay? But in a public area, I just don't think, especially at a pride parade where the whole point is to be subversive about your presentation, how do you police that? You know? Like, that is a place where you're supposed to kind of let your freak flag fly. And if it is known that there's going to be people wearing BDSM gear there, don't take your kids there. Don't take your kids there. That's all.
you know, I agree with most of that, but for me, the main problem there was when you're like, how are we supposed to police that? For me, I feel like the answer is more straightforward than it appears. If you see someone doing something they're not meant to do, maybe we don't have to do a group monitoring thing, a group restriction thing. More like just put a guy there whose entire job is to say, hey, look, I saw this one guy doing this. Want to go look at him? And we get a bunch of guys to just go look at him to see what he's doing and watch him. And if he's doing something he's not meant to be doing, kick him out. You know, I feel like that's the solution. We don't have to stop them from even doing it. Just have one guy say, look, your job is to find someone doing something wrong and report it to us.
Well, they
Then
usually do
that's the
have
problem
people
solved,
like
isn't it?
that there watching and making sure that everybody's being safe and nobody's taking advantage of anybody else. And also, like, you can just trust the general public to be able to handle that. Like, if I saw, right, you know, like a group of kids being talked to by somebody in a BDSM outfit, I might say something. And I might say, listen, I don't think that that's a good thing. I don't think it's appropriate. I think that you should just move along, okay? And I would hope that other people would say the same thing. But again, I've been to pride parades, and I don't see this happening as often as people think. So it's not a huge concern. And again, it can happen anywhere in any context. You know, like, it happens way more often frankly, in churches. So, if you really want to get mad at somebody, get mad at the Catholic Church.
Well, I can actually agree that it's not as overrepresented as people like to say. Like, it doesn't happen as much as people are saying it's happening. Because I do admit that there is people that will always try to overblow something and be like, oh, this is happening everywhere. Everyone of this person is doing that. I feel like everyone does this to some degree, to further some kind of idea, to say that, look, XYZ people are doing this. That's all rallied behind something to stop them from doing this, but then the goal is different from what they said it was. Like, that's how a lot of people get elected. They say they're gonna solve a problem, but then they don't solve no problem, because they're overblowing an issue that doesn't exist, and then they don't solve the issue that doesn't exist. So I can understand the idea that what we're seeing is obviously not truly representative of like what's happening. But for me, it's like, if we're seeing it happen anywhere, like even if it's overrepresented, if I can see it like happening, then it should be dealt with. Because I know people will get a clip and spread that clip everywhere. But the question still stands: how did that clip happen in the first place? Like, that clip shouldn't exist. Like, there's not a clip
shouldn't, and
like,
I can agree with you on
clip
that.
of like one guy doing like something else. Like, if there's a clip of, let's just say, some random dude like going to a store then like killing a bunch of people, right? And then someone uses the excuse to say, this is why X people, this is why all this, like, let's say like some black guy uses the excuse to say, oh, this is why all black people suck because look at this. We can't like look at that and be like, oh, obviously all black people suck. Like, that's not the point. The point is, though, something should have been there in place to stop him from doing that in the first place. Like, we should be able to look at something objectively on an individual basis, person to person, rather than group by group. This isn't gay people did this. It's this guy did this. This isn't black people did this. This is this guy did this. This isn't pride parade did this. This is this specific person did this in a certain place, and that's the way I want to see things. So things could be solved in a more orderly and more common sense fashion. Like, just get the guy who did the thing, then put him behind, like, whatever is the case. Just get the guy and sort them out. That's the way I see it.
I agree with you for the most part. I agree. If you see something happening at a pride parade, you should say something. Sure. All right. I think I'm gonna let up Kitty ACC next. Is there anything else you wanted to add before I let them up?
Nah, I'm good. That was it, really.
Alrighty, I appreciate you coming up and taking the time. Okay. The thing about Pride is that it's not just a parade. That there's events everywhere. Take your kids to family-friendly events. Yeah, I agree. I go to Boston Pride all the time. I've seen kink at it extremely sparingly. 90% of the time it's a twink in a pup mask. Yeah, like, and they shouldn't be going around to kids and like, like taking pictures with them or anything like that. But they don't. They generally don't. Like, it's happened a couple of times and then those few pictures get shared around, like, the last guy was saying, but it just doesn't happen that often. It's a scare. It's a big scare. I'm gonna turn my user volume down. I think I'm a little loud. All right, we're gonna bring up Kitty, and then Kino Flex is next.
Hello,
Kitty.
So I'm going to get into this practically immediately. So
Sure.
Padex and who is the last? What is his name? Let me look. King Dolo. Sorry. They made some interesting remarks, but things, and some of it I would agree with. But I have also another experience, because obviously you are speaking from experience of being in, Western Europe or North America, these countries, and the problem is that yes, there is this issues there of people do these kinks and whatnot, but I would be kind of interested to know, because pride parades here, for example, are considered to be protests, which that is, legally what it is. And I would say they should probably be actually special zones, because I don't think that a protest, which is supposedly suited for all ages, even family issues, and whatnot, should be including children. Of course, I've never been to one, but if they want to follow what happens in the West, like a lot of people do, then I'm expecting that there's probably going to be a lot of sexualization. But the problem is that there seems to be, and this goes even in Europe as well, because I have seen it, a kind of what do you call it, hypocrisy. Because, for example, you can have a pride parade in Pride Month, yes, and it will be completely fine. However, if there is a counter protest, even from like maybe a more far right group or whatever, right, who cares? It is more likely the police will act harsher towards peaceful counter protesters. This I have seen, and will simply detain them, and will simply not care really what goes on inside the Pride Parade, even if somebody is, being a hooligan and they are being a nudist or something like this. Police don't seem to care across Europe.
Well, the Pride Parade is something that has been allowed, presumably, unless it's a protest in an area you're in, for instance. But like usually, Pride Parade is like it's a parade. It's not technically a protest. It may have started that as that in America, but nowadays it's like you get a permit, you reserve a street, and you have your parade. And that's how it works.
I'm speaking on like how it is legally, because obviously they can say, okay, yeah, there's a parade, and sure, there's a parade. But when it comes down to what is considered in the government, they are registered as, a public demonstration. I'm not sure how it is in, like, it may be the same in Poland. I'm not sure how it is in Western Europe or in America. I don't know how registration works there. But it does seem like there is a legal impetus, even if most of the population doesn't want it to be there, right? Like, for example, I think a lot of people would agree with me here. I don't care about people who are gay. I just don't want to see it on the news. I don't want to be hearing about it in the public space. I don't want to I don't want somebody to come to me, so I'm gay or whatever, right? I don't want there to be these kind of issues where it is celebrated by the government because it is just sexuality. Everybody has sexuality. Who cares? It should not be this big deal where the entire society needs to care about it. There are no anti-LGBT laws. Why does that need to be our problem? And then
there are in some countries.
Yes, there are in some countries. I know that, but not in European countries, not in America. Not
sure
in Ukraine,
but it's largely as a result of evangelists from America going to these African countries and spreading anti-LGBT hatred that those laws crop up there. So I'm just pointing that out. It may be easier to do over there, but it does happen as a result largely of influence from the West, from Christian groups and the like.
I understand there may be issues in Africa, but if you're bluntly, the issues in Africa aren't, the problem of societies in Europe or in North America with regards to this. If we talk about, I guess, European or American pride, then this is a different topic. Obviously, you can talk about things like Chinese pride or, pride in Africa or whatever, and this is different. I think, maybe it is more of a use there, but it does seem like they will say one thing where they are just there to spread information. They are there to, spread, values and dignity, and works about human rights and everything. But in practice, it does seem that they just allow anything. Because, for example, right, if you go to a beach, if you want to be a nudist, you have to go to a special zone, right? But if you go to a pride parade, you can just be a nudist, even if it breaks the law.
No.
And it seems
No,
we don't do anything about
you
it.
can't be nude at a pride parade, generally speaking.
It seems that you can be generally very close, like very sexualized in ways that would not be acceptable in public in any case.
Like what?
Like, you know, like wearing like the what I don't know what it's called, obviously, but like it's you know the guys who have the two straps of like leather like over their chest, and then like everything else is just like you know like open, like you can see everything, and then there's like the people in like the weird you know like costumes that are like meant to like evoke sexuality, or there's people like you know I've had things sent to me with people, and they will be on like on the hands and knees, and they'll be on this like leash, and they'll be like, behaving like a dog in
Okay,
the
but
middle
that's
of
all.
squares.
But that's all publicly allowed. Like you can do that in a public space if you want. It's just people are going to look at you funny.
I'm not quite sure like how much it's allowed. Maybe in America it's more allowed. Like to me it seems like it is it should not be allowed, because that is like you know like normally sexual acts aren't allowed to be done
Should
in
you
public.
should you be allowed to walk around barefoot? Just like in public,
Should I be allowed to walk around barefoot?
like in a public park.
Probably in a park. Well, okay, sure. In a park, I don't think there's any laws against it. I
Why
know
not?
that there's obviously.
You know there are people with foot fetishes, right? What if somebody's walking around barefoot and
People-
getting off to
but-
it?
Well, you know, if a person, right, is just walking in a park barefoot, and they are perfectly allowed by the law to do it, and somebody has a foot fetish, and from that, then they are like, you know, doing something sexual towards that, and they are now the issue here. They are the one breaking the law, not the person walking around with the
No, no,
foot
no.
fetish.
I'm saying
right?
the person walking around barefoot gets off on the idea of other people seeing them barefoot.
Well, of course, that is certainly. I mean, I guess a personal issue. It's just that, you know, for example, in the park.
Right, but there's no real way to police
just
that, right? You can't get into that person's head.
Yeah, you can't do anything about it in a park. But let's say they're walking around barefoot in, you know, like a public building, like a bank. Well, you know, that is not allowed. You know, they can be removed.
Okay, but in general, in publicly owned spaces, you know, places, there are exceptions. You can't walk around barefoot in a library. We've accepted that. You have certain dress code standards for certain public areas. I can recognize that. But in a public park, I think that it's totally fine and legal and whatever else, it should be legal, to walk around barefoot, even if you are a person with a foot fetish who's getting off on it. Now, as long as you're like not, you know, jerking off right there, that's where you draw the line, obviously. But my point is, it's hard to police these kinds of things, because as long as you're not showing anybody any actual junk, right? Like in certain public areas and in certain contexts, it ought to be allowed. And I think at pride parades, like you should be allowed to wear outfits that are a little bit out there, maybe even a little bit sexualized. Who cares?
I mean, I guess there is obviously a certain, I guess, distinction, because, for example, you know, women, for example, will often walk around in, I guess, you might call it a cute or you know, sexual clothing. Of course, there are obviously laws about how much you can, you know, do. Like, you obviously cannot be like walking around like just in like, you know, a public, you know, populated street where without like, you know, even a bra on, you know, like. You know. But for, I guess it is, there's a big difference with that, which is, you know, just, you know, this is, you know, women's dress, and I don't even think a lot of women try to just walk around in public dressing, you know, like super sexually, necessarily. But it does seem that in the LGBT community, this kind of stuff is encouraged, you know, this kind of like breaking of like these decency laws, because they, you know, at least in the internet space, because I don't really know any gay people in real life, in the internet space, they're very sexual, and they do not seem to care that much about the idea of if they were, also being very sexual in public. But it is like possible.
What's being
looking at?
Can you give me one example of something that's being encouraged that you're against by the gay community?
Well, for example, they will say, okay, you should be allowed to go into public, and you should be allowed to, like, for gay people themselves, treat your fetishes in public, walk
Like
your
what
partner
fetish?
around like a dog, like walk your partner around like a dog, where obviously like sexualized, leather and everything, and this kind of stuff, very banal stuff for them. But for other parts of the LGBT, it seems to be worse, like especially with regards I've seen to trans people, because I've seen trans people directly state that they want to be selling drugs illegally, even internationally, to various countries, funding the drug trade.
What kind of drugs?
Helping markets. Well, for example, the hormonal drugs. I'm not sure if the kinds of drugs I think.
You mean the kinds that are like medically necessary?
Well, if it is given by a doctor, right, this is one thing. But for example,
there are
if you
places where it's
buying a
illegal for
dose-
doctors to give it.
Sure. However, at the same time, right, I don't like the fact that just because in some place it is illegal, that then, okay, the LGBT is fine to support here in Europe the mafia, which will then make these drugs illegally, send them illegally to places, and will, of course, help them also, traffic, other drugs. This is a problem that they don't seem to, realize, because they care about this singular thing without realizing that it's not just, their hormones that are being trafficked. It is meth that is being trafficked.
Okay, but ultimately the reason they do that is because it's illegal, like to get it from a doctor, right?
Yeah, but if you, for example, if you live in the EU, right, then it's fine. It's not illegal. But even people in the EU, I've seen, have bought this stuff illegally because they disagree with what the doctor is telling them about dosages or something. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. Like
Doctors, there
I
are
don't
places where doctors under-prescribe these medications.
Yeah,
like
but
they have
do
very
most
strict
people-
guidelines that they're
Right.
too strict,
Yes.
and it's medically necessary that that person has
But-
more.
Okay, but does the vast majority of people, right, if they get underprescribed something, think instead of going to the doctor and, talking about it and, trying to get, other dosages, they do that first,
You don't think they did
correctly,
that?
and not. I don't know, but it seems like many of them just jump straight to, I'm going to start buying from drug traffickers. I'm going to start, doing these illegal actions. Most
Okay,
people don't do that. Like, if
But
somebody-
you don't jump straight to that. Usually you start by going to your doctor, asking for a dosage increase, and because you looked it up and you saw, okay, I'm not having any actual effects from this tiny amount of estrogen you prescribed me, and according to international guidelines, it says that I should have more. And the doctor says, no, the state does not allow me to prescribe you more than this. Okay? And so that person then says, okay, I'm not getting the medically necessary treatment, therefore I'm going to do something that is quite literally illegal.
And, like, is that incorrect?
You're judging a person, okay, but you're judging a person for doing something that's illegal, but you're not judging the part where it's medically necessary. Like, you're leaving that out.
Well, it's like I mean, they already have like went to the doctor, right? They are getting the right.
They're not getting the right amount.
Maybe so, but I don't think that is cause for them to be supporting the mafia.
But that's what they have to do to help themselves sometimes. Because they're not being helped by the state, who's saying it's illegal for you to get the drugs that you need. So, like, if you want to fix this issue, we need to follow internationally accepted guidelines for trans care and give people the amount of hormones that is medically necessary.
I mean, maybe like that's something for experts to do. I know that obviously the EU has its own guidelines. Not countries have to follow. Some countries have increased their own guidelines with accordance with that. I'm very aware about this. I'm not a doctor. I cannot say anything about that. I'm not an expert on this. But my issue is that I am seeing, despite they are not going and trying to say, okay, these things need to be changed. They are not, getting together and forming these movements. They're not trying to do this.
And that's not their job.
If you are a community, right, and you are having these problems, as part of society, as part of civil society, it then would be your job to just go and protest and make sure that you are heard, not by drugs
people
from the
don't
mafia.
protest because it's their job to protest. People protest because society is running a specific way that they don't want it to be run anymore. Okay, that doesn't mean that it's their job to change it. It just means that they're taking the initiative. So if a person is going to a protest saying, I am against the way that we do trans care in this country or in this state or whatever, because we're not prescribing enough, and then they turn around and go and get the amount that they need illegally, then they're completely consistent. If they're not going to protests and they're getting the amount that they need illegally, that's not their job to do that.
And for example, let's say if they are arrested in this acquisition, because it is an illegal acquisition, right? Then, because I have heard some people say this, that it is homophobic or transphobic that they are being arrested for this when they are.
I think it is. Well, it's a homophobic, transphobic law.
That you can't buy drugs from the drug deal?
It's no. That's a disingenuous statement that you just made. I'm saying it's transphobic to have a law that states you can't prescribe a certain amount of drug that forces people to go and get things illegally.
I mean, we have that with a lot of things. Like, there is, for example, right? There is, legal cannabis in medical, in medical issues, right? In some countries, but then they don't allow it in recreational issues, and there will be people who they will go and they will buy it, recreationally, and that's still a crime. You can be, you can be fined or detained for this because you are being involved in buying and selling, drugs illegally, and the idea that if somebody is, let's say, trans or gay or whatever, and whatever you want to say, and they go do this and they are just caught and arrested, maybe they are put to community service or they have to pay some of their wage back to the government, or they spend some time in jail, or they're fined or whatever. The idea that is transphobic because they broke the law when it applies to everybody, regardless of the
That's not what I'm saying. But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the law itself that forces them to do that is transphobic. Therefore, the reason they are being arrested is, at its roots, transphobic.
So,
right?
In other words, if the government says, okay, you are let's say, starting out, you are, let's say, a year on this treatment, so we have a specific law that says, okay, since you are so new on this treatment, you can only be subscribed so much of this drug, but then you would say, okay,
is that the internationally recognized first dose? Or is it smaller?
No, I'm not exactly. I'm talking, for example, in terms of directly EU law, right? Where you have this issue where, okay, if you're new to a drug, you're going to be given less of it because obviously your body needs to acclimate to it than if you're given more. And then you disagree with that. You maybe want to go to injections first and not pills or whatever, right? So you go in and you buy it on these black markets. That's transphobic because they will not let you immediately go to a higher dosage because they have some research which
I'm not saying that either. I'm saying if you're not getting the amount that you need, if you get a certain dose and nothing's happening, and you go back to the doctor and say, hey, I looked up the guidelines on this and it said if nothing's happening, raise the dose. And then the doctor says, well, I'm not going to raise it because the guidelines in our specific area, the legal guidelines state that I'm not allowed to. And I'm scared to do it because if I do that, the doctor might know, but the doctor might also be protecting their own skin, which is completely fair. It shouldn't be on the doctor to have to do that. But sometimes that's what they have to do.
I know some countries that was, like, I know some countries that are obviously like laws that could be considered anti-LGBT. Like, for example, in Norway, I heard from a Norwegian that apparently a lot of doctors in Norway will not prescribe a lot of drugs to these kinds of people because a Norwegian law allows you to essentially be able to sue them at any time for any reason. I'm not exactly sure about it because I didn't really have it explained at all, but it obviously then means a lot of doctors just don't prescribe a lot of drugs to a lot of people. Okay, that probably is not good, but it does. It can seem to me like okay, it's better though, right? To have the doctor be able to do it.
It's better when you talk to a doctor. Yes.
And the reality is not every doctor is the same. Like obviously they're part of companies and organizations, and you can go request different doctors.
Yes, you can get a second opinion, but if the law says you can't prescribe this amount, they're going to abide by that to protect their own license. And so like you can go get a second opinion, and all doctors are different, and some might find a way around it, but ultimately that's not your freaking job. It's not your job to go doctor shopping because the law says you can't have the fucking drugs you need. Why should that be your job? If it's easier to get it on the black market, then that's why people do it. Right?
Obviously, there's obviously ease for people to get stuff in the black market, even though it might not be safe.
Yes, and I don't like that. That's why it should just be legal to give people the drugs they need.
But
that's the easiest solution here.
And but what about but what if because I've seen this too. Okay, what if somebody is just impatient, right? Because medical.
But that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about some impatient person.
Well, yeah, because it actually somebody can be impatient to get the drugs they want. They can immediately, before even they get any issues issues given to them from a doctor, they can go immediately and then they could start going to committing crime, and they may be arrested for this. It is possible.
Obviously, if it's just a matter of somebody being impatient, I don't think that they should immediately go to the freaking black market and seek out the drugs that they're going to get anyway if they just wait a little longer. Okay?
So you disagree with the opinion of the trans community, isn't it? Okay.
What are you talking about? I'm talking about places where you literally cannot get the drugs that you need in the time that you need them.
And yes, I mean, I understand that, but in Western countries, that doesn't... that really isn't an issue. Like
in some places it is. There are places now in the United States where trans care is illegal.
Like where?
Hold on. Attacks on gender affirming care by state from HRC, Human Rights Campaign.
So is it just attacks, like or is it
I'm
actively
looking.
illegal? Because of restrictions aren't illegal, right?
Several states currently have litigation proceedings challenging these bans. Attacks on gender affirming care by state. Red is law or policy banning gender affirming care has passed. So right here in my home state of Ohio, law or policy passing banning gender affirming care. So it's banned in Ohio, or at least there is a law or policy
So,
that leads to up to age 18.
So in other words, okay, so it's under. Okay. So in other words, a teenager cannot get this kind of care. Well, okay, that I
Correct. So
actually
they might seek it on the black market.
Well, teenagers shouldn't probably be getting this, care.
I don't think they should either. They
anyways.
should be getting it in a doctor's office.
Well, no, I mean, like, teenagers are in a specific part of their life. They shouldn't be messing around with their, hormones. It's kind of the same reason why it's not good for teenagers, especially, to be taking steroids or whatever, right?
What if they need them?
The teenager needs. Like, what if they have like an issue where their body isn't producing testosterone at all or something?
Yeah, like if they're a trans boy.
Or or like, they can wait till they're an adult. Like they are. Like this is not.
Okay, but by
if it's
then
like,
it's too late.
And how is it too late? Too late. Like they can still go on the.
Because a lot of permanent changes take place during puberty. That's what puberty's like kind of about. Certain permanent changes that take place to the body. And you're also reducing the amount, like if you let them have gender affirming care when they're in their teenage years, like they're supposed to, that reduces the amount of surgeries and other procedures that they need later, that they would otherwise need later.
So, despite the risks of altering puberty, you would say that this should be allowed because they might feel good, even if it does have risks to their,
because
bodies,
it's medically necessary. It's not about them feeling good. It's about being medically necessary. This has been studied. Gender affirming care is very necessary for, children. Gender affirming care goes as young as like 4 years old sometimes. Not medically, but part of gender affirming care is presentation. If you have a little trans boy who wants to wear boys' clothes and be called Jimmy instead of Jenny, then you let him wear the clothes that he wants and affirm his name.
No, sure, they can
Why not?
wear whatever clothes. But like when it comes to the medical issues, right? If we're talking about puberty versus adults, right? Giving to teenagers drugs that alter the puberty is dangerous. It's not common for a reason.
What's dangerous about it? Like what drug do you mean? Which one? Like a hormone blocker?
For example, yes, in some cases that.
Okay, so a hormone blocker. What's dangerous about a hormone blocker?
Well, blocking puberty is now blocking the changes that your body needs to make during puberty, right?
Like what changes?
It is, well, I'm trying to, because I have to think back from
You're fine.
classes in biology and also into English. Like, so when you obviously reach the puberty, there's a multitude of changes in the body that are meant to happen. The body is meant to do this. Men grow taller and grow larger muscles, for example, right?
So you won't be as tall and your muscles won't be quite as big.
And
is that what we're worried about?
And when it comes down to human health, for example, for men, this is actually good. Obviously, good male health relies on having, a good, hormone balance, just like it does for women, but in obviously a different way, I know. But I'm not a woman, so I cannot speak on that as well. And when you interfere with that, especially in puberty, that can create lifelong health problems.
Like what?
A person can, Like a person can not have the right amount of hormone balance for the rest of their life, maybe requiring now to be on certain steroids for the rest
But
of their life. They could.
That's already a constant in their life, though, just because of their DNA. The whole point of being trans is that you're, like, you know, you're trying to basically combat your body's natural proclivity toward one sex. So that's a lifelong thing anyway. HRT is lifelong for trans people.
But why does it need to be in puberty, though?
Because that's when it's best. That's when it works best. Before any permanent changes take place as a result of either testosterone or estrogen. Especially testosterone.
So, so in other words, right? You believe that okay, the laws should allow like okay, let's like I've said, somebody gets to puberty and feeling a certain way, yes, and they should okay, so like obviously these won't be adults. They don't have certain like you know, they're maybe not at the age of consent. They cannot themselves consent to you know, medical operations at all. And
like a
so,
like what an antibacterial, like
well,
like
you know,
penicillin.
Yeah, people below a certain age, it's different in each country, cannot actually
Consent to penicillin?
consent to medical, like consent to medical issues on their own. They
like penicillin.
What is penicillin?
An antibiotic. It fights
I'm
infection.
I mean, I don't. Yeah, okay. I mean, I think antibiotics are different. I'm not
Why?
sure, like, but even some of them I know.
Go ahead.
Like some of them I know you don't. Okay, like some like you know, antibiotic medication I know. Like most you still need a prescription. I know this, but I know some that I have in my life gotten without a prescription. Although I don't know if that was just because
Antibiotics, besides it, like over-the-counter ointments, usually need a prescription at least in the United States. I don't know how it works in Europe, but
yeah, of course. But no, I'm talking about like, you know, being for example, like if you are like, you know, 12 years old, right? At least in most countries, I think you cannot yourself go to the doctor and say, I want a steroid, and I want to be able to talk. Like, obviously, you need somebody to be able to say, like, that they can also say, okay, I'm allowing them to do this because there's things they don't understand, right?
sure. There are some treatments like that, I understand.
So, okay, yeah, of course, with regards to this issue, this is a very, this is a treatment on this kind of level, right? So, like, how then would you want trans people or whatever to, or even gay people? I don't know. Like, you know, maybe like, you know, who knows? Maybe they're like gay people taking like, stuff. I have no idea.
Usually, the medical side of this is usually specific to trans people.
Right. Because like, you know, they can. Like they can't just go to a doctor or just on their own at like the age of 12 or 13, right? For this.
Sure, for medical care, I would like the parents to be involved, right? I would like the parents to sign off on these things and say, yes, this medically necessary care that my trans child needs, they will get, you know? I think that in a sane society, that's how it would work. Just parents sign off, but sometimes the parents don't sign off. and they say, no, my child doesn't need this medical care, actually, even though I've never been trained medically in my entire life.
No,
I'm
that
going
is
to make the
parents'
assertion on religious principles or whatever the fuck else that my child does not need this care that a team of doctors has deemed medically necessary. And in those cases, I think that the child has the right to fight that in some fashion. Or at least people who represent the child who aren't the parents.
So like for like I mean the parent obviously has the right to like be able to decide, you know, certain things for the child. Obviously it is just a law, like, you know, a parent can decide, oh, I don't want my child you know, to be in this school, for example, or they don't want their child getting certain medical procedures done for whatever reason. You know, it is the that's the right of parents. Because
I don't think that the parents should have complete dominion over that, in my opinion. Like, I think that that's bad. But, like, let's say that, like, you know, there are parents who have denied their children medical care for cancer. You know, like, I just think that there are sometimes the parents don't know what's best.
I mean, obviously, like, I mean, yeah, I've kind of heard about that. Like, some parents may not understand, chemotherapy, and they may like think, oh, it's like putting radiation on them, and it could make the child's life worse or whatever. And maybe they don't want, like, maybe they don't want their child to have certain risks they imagine that maybe don't exist, right? Obviously, but not much that can be done about that because, well.
I think there can be. I think that the doctors and it should report that to the ethics board, and then the ethics board can hire social workers to say, no, the parents don't get to decide this. They're too stupid. They're too stupid.
I mean, yeah, but that seems like it could have like problems, right? Like you could then say, okay, well now parents like shouldn't be able to decide if their, you know, children don't go to a specific school because maybe they don't because, for example, like you know, there could be something taught at a school, for example, that a parent might, you know, that parents might individually have an ideological disagreement with, and then they have the right to take the child from that school and, you know, try to put them.
Okay, but like, what kind of ideological disagreement? Like, they're learning about a guy historically who fought really hard for the gay rights movement, like that.
I mean, it doesn't need to be that. It doesn't need to be that radical, right? Like, I've read stories about people taking children out of schools because they were. Obviously, this is probably not an issue that Americans can relate to, but because, for example, in a history class, they were, you know, given books in like a language different from the state language, and, you know, parents might not agree with that, and they, you know, don't want to.
What? Why not?
It is complicated.
You
like,
can't learn a language? You're okay. I'm sorry. If parents are keeping their children from. Sorry, am I misunderstanding?
It's not about learning a language. It is about, I guess, you know, like, if you're in a class, right, that is said to be, okay, it is like a normal class, it is not a class about learning a language, and the teacher is giving non-registered books, usually from another country, in another language, for usually ideological propagandistic purposes, and if the parent doesn't agree with that, that's fine, they can take the child out of the school, okay? Obviously, that's not an issue I think Americans have to deal with, but it is an issue that, you know, sometimes has to be dealt with here, and it is also a violation of the law for the teacher to do that. So I think that is fully, you know, applicable for the parents to be able to do. I think there is a case, like, obviously, if the child is going to die, like, actively, like, is going to die, then obviously, you know, medical issues have to be done. But, like, how often really is you know, a child in that kind of danger in normal medical circumstances where they are absolutely going to die and doctors just have to do certain medical procedures, right? I know cancer is obviously.
Does it have to be right? Does it have to be like? Is your line they're going to die, and we should override the parents' decision. Because of that, that's your line.
Well, yes, obviously, like, you know, the life of the person matters a bit more than if the parents, like, want something done, obviously. To keep somebody alive is better than...
What if the child will just be left in grueling pain? That's fine, right? The parents can say, well, we don't want, like, painkillers for our kid, because that's against our religion.
I mean...
Do you understand? Is it starting to sink in? Because at a certain point, the parents just don't know what's best.
I mean,
and we should start acting like it.
I mean, that is something they're allowed to do, though. I mean, it may...
I don't care about allowed. It ought to be allowed. It ought to be allowed to override the parents' decisions in some medical contexts. Right? Like, it just is obvious to me. Like, sometimes parents are idiots. It's really easy to pop out a few kids. It's not easy to get a medical degree.
But, like, okay, like, let's say, like, right, like, a parent just disagrees, you know, about painkillers. A parent may disagree about the child being on these drugs in the first place. Maybe they want an alternative solution to that. Should they be overridden then because they do not want their child on a specific drug?
Yes.
Because that could have worse side effects?
Like what? Like what drug?
I'm not sure, like, because I'm not... You simply
like,
painkillers.
make something up.
No, that's... Let's just make something up then. We're talking about fantasy.
No.
I mean...
I'm trying to get to the point here because, like... I understand there are sometimes, like, we're not sure if we want to do this. There are sometimes certain risks to certain procedures. Like, let's say that, like, okay, you know, your kid has cancer. We're going to do this procedure where there's, like, a 50-50 shot of obliterating the cancer or the kid dying. You know? Like, that's just me bullshitting. Like, obviously, then it's up to, like, then it's up to the entire team here. The child and the parents, what they want to do.
Okay, so, for example, I'll give you a concrete issue, okay? Depression. If you know, a child has depression and the parents are asked, okay, do you want your child to go on to, you know, antidepressants, and the parents say no, would you say that is their right? Because antidepressants can have various side effects that are not good, and it can be lifelong.
I think it depends. I think it depends on which antidepressant and if there are and what the risk of this child's, you know, what their prognosis is if they don't have the antidepressant, and like if they're suicidal, for instance, and the parents are just doing nothing about it, then yeah, I think it's fair to override them. Sure. It just depends on it'd be very specific to each case.
I mean, I've kind of like, I mean, I don't think like most parents could do nothing if the child is suicidal.
I don't think so either, but they exist.
Yeah, of course.
There are some parents who don't believe that depression is even real. There are plenty of those.
Oh yeah, I've met people who don't believe depression is real. Yes.
I just real quick, I hate to cut this conversation short because I think it's really interesting, and that's why I've been talking to you for so long. But I do want to get to somebody else here soon, so I'll give you.
I understand. I was just like, trying to like see your view on like law and trying to see, because like obviously like to me I'm more interested in the legal aspect of this because I care. That's what I care about.
Sure.
It's good talking to you. You could go talk to someone else. And I'm sorry for taking up so much time.
No, you're fine. If I wanted to cut you off earlier, I would have. Oh, sorry, I have my voice chat on Rocket League. People are probably very confused. Hold on.
Very much. Yeah.
Okay. Mute. How do I mute? Chat.
Okay, so I should be taken down?
Off. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
I should be taken down then?
No. Go ahead and get your last thoughts in, and then I'll let somebody else up.
Okay, yeah. So because like I'm more interested obviously in the, like, you know, I guess it comes down to like you have to consider two things with regards to medical issues, even with LGBT, and also the cultural aspects, right?
Hmm.
I think, obviously, this is something I did kind of want to get into before I got sidetracked by the medical issue, but there is a serious difference between what something, if you take away everything around it is, and something when you take culture into account. Because, for example, like not everybody will be okay with certain things, whether it is right or wrong, and the idea that you can just simply ignore that and go, I'm going to do this anyways, is a bit ridiculous to me, and that's what a lot of LGBT do. They just don't care about like what are the sensibilities of the people around them. So they, do all the stuff they want to take everyone's, places, and they want to just do whatever. That was
Sure.
sort of.
Okay, I have my disagreements with that statement, but I gotta let somebody else up. So thank you very much for coming up. I appreciate your time and your input. Okay. Kino Flex was next. You've been waiting a while.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. Let me turn you down a little bit. I got to turn everybody down a little bit for some reason. I think it's on my end. Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty, we are good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I joined a bit late, so do you think you could repeat the prompt or what argument or debate you would like to keep going? Because I saw that you were discussing pride parades at first, and then you were discussing gender affirming care. I just wanted to make sure that I'm staying on topic.
I'd prefer to stick with the gender affirming care argument. I think it's more interesting, but whatever you want to discuss, if it's related to queer rights, LGBT, whatever, is fine.
Okay. I guess before I get into any argument, do you think you could clarify what you mean by homophobia and transphobia?
Yeah, I mean, it's
or provide
generally
your own definitions.
A fear or dislike of trans or gay people, or policies which would, which are spurred on by that notion. So anti-gay marriage, for instance, is a homophobic stance to have, in my opinion. Anti-gender affirming care is a transphobic stance to have, even if you have, you state your concerns are medical in nature. At the end of the day, what drives that kind of view, what drives that kind of policy is, in its roots, transphobic.
Okay. And would you say that because the LGBT movement is against those things, they can be classified as a strictly a social and political movement with their own ideology?
What, the trans community?
No, the LGBT community, just the movement as a whole.
Well, their ideology is simply let gay and trans people exist and participate in society to the same extent that everybody else does.
Well, they also have their own specific viewpoints on things like healthcare, housing, etc. And you can place that on somewhere on the political spectrum, can you not?
Well, they tend to be left-leaning, but there are certainly gay and trans people who aren't, if that's what you're getting at. There are plenty of trans capitalists and trans fascists.
Yeah. And this is the point I'm trying to get at is, if the goal first and foremost is acceptance, I think it's fair game to criticize certain positions or ideological positions of the LGBT movement, especially if you yourself are of the LGBT movement or one of those groups they're claiming to represent, and say that and complain about or just criticize how they're not representing you correctly.
I think you can criticize the LGBT movement for sure. There are fair criticisms to have. But in general, I would question which criticisms you hold. And, if I agree with them, then I'll say so. And if I don't agree with them, I would question why you hold those disagreements.
Okay. Let's use like the gay pride like parades as an example. Sure, you can like they can if they're like legally speaking, I'm not going to argue any of that aspect. If they have if they've secured a venue or have the proper permits, then yeah, obviously they can do whatever they want, like involve kids or non-involve kids. But like in terms of optics and like trying to appeal to people, like trying to dissuade certain notions about like views of gay people, lesbians, transgenders, etc. Is there not a certain obligation to call out bad actors or try to present yourself in a more respectable way? Because gay even though they it's a big tent movement, not every single person is it's not a monolith. Obviously, you're going to have you're going to have a plurality of different viewpoints. You're going to have the log cabin Republican types, obviously. But my concern is that if you're going to just have it be a predominantly left-wing movement, and you're not going to include the people of right-wing orientation, and that's going to affect overall acceptance.
I would question what that looks like, because most right-wing people are frankly just homophobic and transphobic.
In what ways?
Well, in the ways they don't like gay marriage, they don't like they straight up say they like being trans is a mental illness. So,
gender dysphoria is classified as a mental illness. I understand that being trans automatically by itself is not a mental illness. You can just simply identify as something else, as non-binary, etc., and that's not classified as a mental illness. Essentially, if you have gender dysphoria, you're trans. But if you're trans, you don't essentially have gender dysphoria.
You don't gender dysphoria, honestly, in my opinion, needs to be reevaluated completely, because gender dysphoria exists in cis people as well. I mean, take a look at me. Like, I have dysphoria from in the same way that a trans man would have dysphoria, because I was low T, and my voice wasn't as deep as I wanted, and I wasn't as muscular as I wanted. So I think that's the same thing.
Yeah, women getting plastic surgery because they don't like getting wrinkles, like fat guys who lost a lot of weight, they want to get breast reduction. Sure, you can say that's affirming their gender, but the distinction would be they're not convincing themselves that they're the opposite sex by or gender by undergoing those surgeries, right? So that would be the contention.
But there's no difference. They're going against their body's quote unquote natural biology. You can say they're deluding themselves by claiming they don't have tits after they get breast reduction.
That is
they did have tits.
They are appealing to an objective standard in society, a beauty standard, to be more precise.
So are trans people.
And are they really changing their biology? That's the thing.
What, cis people who get breast reductions? If they're a guy?
No. If you're making a comparison with trans people, the results are vastly different. A man wanting to get a cis man wanting to get surgery for his to become less fat, still thinks he's a man from beginning to end. That's not the case for a trans person going from male to female. Right.
Trans people tend to know pretty early on. Now, this isn't always the case, but a lot of let's just take the case of of a trans person who knows from the time they're 5 that they're trans. They may not have the words to describe it, but they look let's say that they were born with male genitalia, and they look at girls and identify with those girls, and want to wear dresses and play with dolls and have long hair and be called a girl's name and be called she, her, and grow up to be a woman as those girls do. There are certainly people that exist like that. So you know, it's said that like trans people always were the gender that they say they are. They just may not know it like completely because they've been taught differently by society.
I guess my issue with that is like 5-year-olds, like we're talking about children very young, is that they believe themselves to be a lot of things. So even if they feel that way up until they're 18 years old, where I believe they should be legally allowed to make whatever body or whatever altercations to their body they want, there is this like issue of just not pushing back on it, at least softly, right? Because you wouldn't just allow them to, you wouldn't just affirm everything you're like a young child like that at that age does, right?
You can affirm like, that they're the gender they say they are. We do that for cis kids. Why not trans kids?
Well, you can. There are a ton of elements, right? Because you can have like being like, so gender dysphoria is something that's heavily prevalent in the autistic community, right?
Sure.
And it could just be they don't understand like the social aspects related to being a boy, and once it's properly explained to them, then they can have it figured out.
Well, it's common,
and that's like why a lot of gender dysphoria among like young like prepubescent kids tends to go away the majority of the time.
Can you substantiate that?
Well, it's a known medical fact, like around like
okay,
80 or so %.
Like by what age?
I'll look that up.
Sure. Sorry, I am reading chat. I just get involved in these conversations.
Okay, so so this is just the Google AI summary, and there is a link. I'm just reading that out first. Research indicates that for the majority of prepubescent children who experience gender dysphoria, the feelings do not persist into adulthood. Follow-up studies historically show that 70 to 80% of children who show signs of childhood gender dysphoria become comfortable with their natal sex after puberty. And I'll link the first article that comes up.
Sure.
There we go.
That pulled up in a second here. I'm not doing well. All right, let me pull that up. This is the Society for Evidence-Based Gender Medicine. This is a completely slanted organization. What's their research? Like, where are they drawing their research?
Well, they're pointing to a study not conducted by them. So
right.
Let's see. It's the Pediatrics AAP publications. Gender identity 5 years after social transition.
Okay. Let me take a look.
Yeah, so even though it comes from a politically slanted site, it doesn't appear that the study itself that they're citing is partisan itself.
Gender identity 5 years after social transition. Concerns about early childhood. Here, hold on. Let me pull this up on the screen. Concerns about early childhood social transitions among transgender youth include that these youth may later change gender identification, a process that can be distressing. The current study aimed to provide the first estimate of retransitioning and to report the current gender identities of youth an average of 5 years after their initial social transition. We found that an average of 5 years after their initial social transition, 7.3% of youth had retransitioned at least once. At the end of this period, most youth identified as binary transgender youth, 94%, including 1.3% who retransitioned to another identity before returning to their binary transgender identity. A total of 2.5% of youth identified as cisgender and 3.5% as non-binary. Later, cisgender identities were more common among youth whose initial social transition occurred before age 6 years. Their retransitions often occurred before age 10 years. These results suggest that retransitions are infrequent. More commonly, transgender youth who socially transition at early ages continue to identify that way. So it seems like it's saying the opposite of what they're trying to say it says.
How so?
Well, it just said 5 years after the initial social transition, 7.3% of them retransitioned at least once. So at best, you're talking a 90. I'll give you 94%. Or sorry, we'll round it up. 8% of kids who identify as trans after 5 years retransition and go back to being cis. You're talking 8% at most. And even if it were like a higher percent, like let's say it was like 90%, the medical pathway that we have now is the best way of assuring that children are going to grow into the gender that they prefer. It's social transition, which involves identifying as and identifying as the gender you want to identify as, going by a name that suits that gender, like Sarah as opposed to Sam or whatever. Sam's kind of both ways, but whatever. And wearing girls' clothes or boys' clothes or whichever direction you go. And then by the time they hit, I believe it's Tanner stage 2 of puberty. Once it's like puberty hair starts to grow, things like that. That is when you would start on something like a puberty blocker until you were about the age of 15 or 16, at which point you would then transition into hormone therapy. And by that time, when you're 15 or 16, you have a pretty good idea of what you would like to look like as an adult.
I would say I would say that's up for debate, like the 16, 17 range, because like for a lot of people, college is formative years in their lives, and that's also when their brain fully develops and they go on to make have like a very different like idea of themselves compared to like the high school years. Not saying like the high school like years don't have like their own like aren't important, but yeah, they're
right,
later years that give you too.
But if you've gone your entire life acting like a girl, dressing like a girl, going by a girl's name from the age of 5 all the way up until the age of 15, don't you think at that point you would have a good idea of whether you like that lifestyle or not?
Well, again, it depends. Like if this person was like fully knowledgeable that they could act in a flamboyant or masculine way and still be accepted as the sex that they were born as or gender they were born as.
Okay, but how often does that actually happen? Because once again, the study that we have indicates that it's at most 8% of kids who retransition. 92% of them are good. They're good to go. That happens a lot, by the way. I just want to point out that like a lot of transphobic organizations like the SCGM will take studies and just completely warp them into something that they're not. So that says a lot.
I'm looking over the study. I'm looking over the study again. Just give me a second.
You're fine. Do we have a mod in Twitch chat? Or do I gotta take care of that? I'll take care of it. Oh, thank you. Posada bot got him. Dumbass.
Okay. Yeah, I can concede that the site I listed mischaracterized that study.
Sure. I appreciate that.
Yeah, just had to look over evidence more thoroughly.
No, you're fine. But they do that. They do that. They trick you. And I don't think that what they just did to you is fair. I'm not trying to make you look dumb. But like organizations like that do make you look dumb because they're lying to you. They're just lying.
Okay. Like, but it does beg the question of how like certain like other cases like in other countries like outside the United States. Actually, I don't know where you live if you're not in the United States. Like how they were able to block gender affirming care through like things like the CAS review, which is a system like a systematic review of various studies like issued by the government.
Yeah, the CAS review itself is also very flawed, and we can get into that if you'd like. But
Okay.
they use flawed studies like that or misinterpretations of valid studies like what you presented before to, you know, give a semblance of backing for a policy that is ultimately just transphobic at the end of the day. Like, it's just about erasing trans people. That's the goal. So if that's the goal that you start with, then of course any research that you find is going to support that goal somehow. Like that's the end goal, is to erase trans people. Does that make sense? They don't care by what means they have to do it. They just want to sound legitimate.
Okay.
But all the data that we
Right.
have, like the overwhelming majority, with very few exceptions, says being trans is valid. It's not a mental illness. Gender dysphoria is a mental illness that many trans people have, but you know, it's something that is solved with gender affirming care. That is the pathway that experts have determined is best.
Yeah, but do you think like gender affirming care can be too broad of a term, depending on how it's presented?
Like how?
Like, well, again, like using the autism example, there can be a lot of like underlying factors as to why someone is feeling depressed, and they can think that being like transitioning is a solution, but that ultimately won't solve other like issues in their life, like lack of socialization, or at least real world socialization, and stuff like that.
Sure, depression and gender dysphoria are two common, like they often come together. If you have gender dysphoria, you can have secondary depression. More rarely than that, and much more rarely, I should say, you will have primary depression and secondary gender dysphoria. Like, that really is not common. Like the gender dysphoria would be a result of, okay, well, I'm depressed, maybe I'm trans. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, it does, but it's not common. And a good doctor, it's easy. Okay, so a lot of people think a psychiatrist's job is to like give medicine to people, and that's about it. Where the job really starts to get difficult is individualized care, one, and two, differential diagnosis. It's the doctor's job to differentiate whether or not the gender dysphoria is causing the depression or the depression is causing the gender dysphoria. And they make mistakes, but you know, they're human. Everybody makes mistakes, but for the most part, they're trained to do it, and most people are not. And so I would trust the opinion of those people saying like this is the correct pathway for trans individuals over the majority of the rest of the population. I also trust trans people. They say themselves that this has helped me immensely. Most of, like 98 to 99%, even more by some estimates, are very happy with their care. I don't want to keep rambling, but the regret rate for like any kind of transition related care is astronomically low. By comparison, the regret rate for knee surgery is 40% or thereabouts, like 30 to 40%. So, but nobody complains about knee surgery. So,
Well, I guess like the argument I would make after hearing that is maybe there are still like with knee surgeries, there's still lingering pains. There could still be like they didn't feel like they get their money's worth, etc. And by contrast, you could say that with the transition, there is an incentive to say, "Oh yeah, it did work for me." They could just be reporting on that because they need to believe it, because they can't. They don't want to like a trans individual doesn't want to have that mentality that they're not passing.
So another aspect of mental health professionals is that we can't get inside of people's heads. We can't know if they're lying. Sure, it's possible that 98% of them are lying. Is that likely? I don't think so. I think that's a very silly notion. Are some of them? Sure, that's possible. But not 98%. Not even close.
Yeah, well, they could. It's not that they could be lying per se. It's just more so, they're not being upfront with certain negative aspects, because at this point, they may be part of a community, and if they detransition or if they stop transitioning, then they may face some fear of backlash, or that those same connections may go away.
Typically,
does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. The dissatisfaction and the regret does not come from the trans care itself. Typically, it's from social acceptance. Like, the overwhelming majority of detransitioning takes place because those people are not accepted by their peer groups or by their families. So that would be my first concern before all else.
Okay.
Is changing the social perspective of trans people.
Okay, and what do you think is the best way to do that? My own interpretation is just looking at this, just treating them as individuals first and foremost. If somebody I don't really have a problem with someone presenting themselves as the opposite sex, so long as I know that they're not. Do you know what autogynephilia is?
I've heard of the concept. I know what it is. I know a little bit about it.
Essentially, I'm fine with a trans person, or any trans person, so long as it's clear that they're not using the identity as a way to enact a fetish. I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, but how do you even begin to judge that?
The Jessica Yaniv person just using it to go into women's locker rooms and
can I be honest with you?
Masturbate. Yeah, sure.
It sounds like you're just trying to find any way that you can to say being trans is bad.
Not really. I have
your argument has changed
friend.
3 times.
How has it changed 3 times?
Well, first it's what was your first one? It's being trans itself is a mental illness, but gender dysphoria is, and how do we know that it's not depression that's causing the dysphoria? And how it keeps. I'm not trying to. I don't know. It seems as though we've touched on many different aspects of your argument that are all interrelated, because we're still talking about trans people, but not that closely related in and of themselves. Yeah. It seems like there's a mix here between concern and kind of a disgust for people who are using it, quote unquote, for a fetish.
My original argument was more so what the end goals of the LGBT movement as a whole are, because as I said, there seems to be this one ideology placed above other ideologies, and in order to be pro-gay, pro-lesbian, pro-trans, etc., you need to also get on board with other other political opinions that has that are completely separate from like gay politics or strictly speaking gay issues, like stances on economics, stances on healthcare, etc.
Well,
And then it just kind of went
Sure.
more towards gender affirming care because it's intrinsically related to healthcare.
sure. I remember kind of how we got here now. I mean, we can circle back around to that point if you'd like. If you'd like me to address the fetish aspect of this, like the autogynephilia, I can do that as well. So it's just up to you which direction you want to go.
Just so we're clear, someone suffering from gender dysphoria is like that's not a fetish. Like autogynephilia, that is a separate thing from gender dysphoria.
Sure. Did you know that I believe the statistic is 90% of women have autogynephilia by the same token that trans women do? Like the same
what would
test
be an
is,
example
was
of
it,
that? Like,
the-
that's
is-
fascinating.
So the same test was administered, like the autogynephilia test. There's a test for it. I don't know the specifics, but the test was administered specifically to trans people, trans women, as a way to like, you know, get a gotcha on them, saying like, oh, you just view this as like a sexual fetish. But if you give that test to cis women, 90% of them will pass the standards required to identify them as somebody with autogynephilia, the same way that you identify a trans woman with autogynephilia.
Well, again, what would be like an example of a woman with autogynephilia?
What's an example of a trans woman with autogynephilia?
Essentially, like the most popular example is the idea of getting off in being in being a woman in a woman's restroom.
Okay, so if that's the standard you're going by, then 90% of women would also feel that way.
Well, yeah, and that's why I'm like asking you like for an example because like of what an example of a biological woman or a cis woman suffering from autogynephilia would look like, because I've never heard of that.
Autogynephilia is defined as a male's propensity to be sexually aroused by the thought of himself as a female. And there's a specific
So how
test that
can
they've
like women,
given to people to, you know, to autogynephilia test. Let me just look that up.
yeah, so that's why I'm asking the question of what it would look like in from a biological woman.
Well, it's autogynephilia is the arousal of yourself as of yourself, understanding yourself as a woman. That's what autogynephilia is. Do we agree on that?
Like where's that definition coming from?
The two studies that I looked up, that autogynephilia and underappreciated paraphilia, from Anne A. Lawrence. Autogynephilia is defined as a male's propensity to be sexually aroused by the thought of himself as a female. I mean, I can look up a different definition if you want.
I mean, I would agree with that definition, sure.
Okay, sure. So, by that definition, cis women also are turned on by the idea of thinking of themselves as a woman. And if you think about it, like once you really start to dig into it, when I'm in the bedroom with my wife, not to get into specifics, I like to feel like I am a big, strong dude. You know what I mean? Like the thought of myself as a man, being in the man's position as we are doing things together as a, you know, male-female couple, gets me off. That's part of what gets me off. So like if that's autogynephilia, for, you know, the opposite direction, for being a man, then I have it. And, you know, like there's nothing wrong with it because 90% of women have it.
So an example of a biological woman so having autogynephilia would be what, like wearing revealing clothing in a women's bathroom? I'm just trying to like understand like
so that's more specific. That's not autogynephilia. That's you.
Yeah, of course.
That's exhibitionism. That's exhibitionism. You're an exhibitionist.
Yeah, and that's treated in tandem with like like a male suffering from autogynephilia.
Is this common? How common is it for trans women to be exhibitionists and get in trouble for that?
Well, again, like I acknowledge that gender dysphoria and autogynephilia are not the same, but is there going like a there needs, and that's like what I mean. There needs to be like a certain like criteria, or like more willing to call out bad actors who are clearly not trans and stuff like that.
I just don't think it's as big of an issue as transphobia is. Anyway, we've been talking
well,
for a
it's
minute.
fine to.
So
Well, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine to. Okay, go
dude,
ahead.
just real quick, we've been talking for a little bit, so I want to give Ari and Nova a chance to come up before I end the stream. I'll go ahead and let you get your last thoughts in, and then I'll pull one of them up. Whoever had their hand up first, you'll have to remind me.
All right. No, all good. I know we disagree, but thanks for having a respectful discussion. Regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you don't strike me as, okay, if you're still here, you don't strike me as somebody who's like actively trying to hate trans people or anything like that. You just sound like somebody who has some honest questions about the whole thing. And Nova was first, thank you. And you know, I didn't get the feeling that you're trying to be transphobic. So I hope that that's not what you took from the conversation. It sounds like you're really trying to understand this better, and I hope that like through some more research and some more talking with people, you know, even trans people, I would encourage you to talk to more trans people because they're just normal people trying to make it. That's all. Okay, we'll pull up Nova. Nova, I'm fairly certain that we're not going to disagree on much, but I could be wrong. And then I will pull up Ari, and then I'm ending stream.
Hello.
Hey Nova, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. It's just that I think we might have to disagree with something.
Ah, we do have a disagreement. What's that?
It's because that, yes, with the life that I've been following has been nothing but good. But the thing is that yes, I'm trans, yes, I'm LGBT, but because of a lot of people telling me that my lifestyle has been nothing but harm and stuff like that, it's been making me consider things, and it's either that I stick with them or someone beats the tar out of me for thinking these ways because of who I am. I'm not saying you should beat the tar out of me, but you get what I mean.
Okay. I mean, it sounds, I mean, I'm sorry to hear that. It just sounds like you're not happy with yourself.
It's because people kept telling me, you're not this because you're this. How can you be this when you're this? When people like Aristocrat keep calling people the Tesla, when people keep saying, how can, it's like, oh, you're trans though, oh, you're LGBT though, how are you worshiping God and all that? I know, and it's like with gender affirming care, it's that everyone should have it. I believe that, but the thing is that, well, what's the point of doing it if people just shame you for it? You should be prideful of it, people say, but at the same time, people are shunning you for it. So what's the point of it anyway?
Well, you've transitioned, correct?
Yeah, I've been
it
on
seems...
HRT for 5 years.
Right. So what's the point of you doing that?
Well, for
Why'd you do
me, it's been making... I did it because it was making me feel happy, and I also have regret because I didn't do it sooner, that I didn't do it when I was younger. But then also the chat's also having this discussion about, like, sorry if I'm going all over the place, but the chat was making multiple points about multiple sections. Is that, you know, pride events, they're fine, but I don't like explicit pride events. Because the thing is that I know people have this saying like keep keep it weird and whatnot, but it's just like, I'm not saying think of the children, I'm just thinking think of the decency of the human being within itself, because the thing is, why does one person just want to flaunt around their cheeks while everyone else is forced to see it in public during June?
Like I mentioned earlier, I do think sometimes, once in a while, there are things that happen at Pride that I don't particularly want to see. But it's not specific to Pride, right? Like, we see at raves sometimes. People, like, exposing certain parts of themselves that you may not want to see. At the beach, like, once again, people are sometimes exposing their entire ass. So, I guess as it pertains to Pride Parade specifically, I just don't understand why we're so focused on that, if not for the fact that it's gay and trans people. Like, it seems like what they're looking for is for gay and trans people to behave absolutely perfectly and be normal and quote unquote, et cetera, et cetera. Cis people are allowed to fuck around and be weird. Why do only cis people get to be weird?
I say none should be weird in that
That's
way.
fine. And you
also,
can have that stance.
Just to let you know, this is not a therapy session, man. This is me trying to talk about my values that I've been having mixed feelings about.
Sure.
No, it's just that someone's saying that this is not a therapy session, Nova.
Oh, you're addressing chat. Sorry, I wasn't looking at the Discord chat. You're allowed to come up here and talk about whatever you'd like. So, if other people see it as a therapy session, that's on them.
No, it's just because I've been conflicted, because the thing is, and that's why I wanted to debate you, because the thing is that being weird in this sense, it's like hand holding is fine in public, because that's not like being explicit. Giving someone a kiss on the cheek, that's not explicit. But like, if you're just like in public making out with someone, or being naked in a parade, and I have a side that's bad for, I say, not because I'm a Puritan, but because it just feels wrong in society, because society has taught that we need to be more proper with ourselves.
I think there's a point, especially with like making out, that people are going to kiss in public, obviously. There is obviously a point, of course, where like I would say, okay, you two need to get a room. But I think in general, like, that can be socially policed. Somebody can go up to those people and be like, hey, listen, you got to chill. And that should be as far as it goes usually. So I hear what you're saying. There ought to be standards of decency in public, and I agree. I just think that people are overly cautious as it pertains to Pride specifically, and they're only overly cautious because there are queer people there.
Well, for what I can say is, as one who has attended a Pride event once last year, is that the Pride event doesn't need to be, I don't want to say flamboyant, but it doesn't need to be extra. Yeah, there can be like a drag show. Yeah, there could be like a parade, but you don't need to go down that route where someone's just fucking it in the middle of the street. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I don't think that like, I don't see that happening a lot, like, even at Pride parades. It's not like people are just fucking each other in the middle of the street at Pride parades, and if they were, I'd want them to stop.
Yeah. Oh, but no, it's just that I got a question for you. How many times have you had to deal with people using Leviticus?
I haven't really thought about it, to be honest with you. Why?
It's because that's an argument that I keep hearing. And the part of me says, no, this doesn't make sense. It's just them interpreting it. Well, the others, as their way, but then the other side's making the sense of like, well, it says it in here. And because of how I've been going down this route of religion, is that side of my brain is saying, maybe they're making a point. But maybe it is an abomination. Maybe one should love the sinner but hate the sin. Because why should we expel from all that? But then the other side's saying, oh wait, they're just trying to stop people from having freedom.
I think it gets messy with religion, and this is why I'm not really religious anymore, because like you believe in a god, and then you believe that god has specific rules, and according to the holy book, some of those rules say that you're not allowed to be the person that you are, even if you can't change it. So your two choices are, one, or your three choices, I should say. One, you give up the religion. That's what I did. I don't think that that's for everybody, and that's fine. Two is you concede. You say, yeah, you're right, and then you live your life accordingly and just accept that as one of the struggles that God gave you. And plenty of people do that, and I guess they get by. I don't know how happy they are, but they get by. But the third one, of course, is you can say, okay, well, the book's wrong. The God that I believe in, I'm still a Christian, I still believe in the Christian God, but the God that I believe in wouldn't say that about me because he created me. I mean, there's a fair argument that the book is wrong because the book contradicts itself all the time. Like, one, you're made in God's image. Two, you're flawed fundamentally. Like, how does that make any sense? So, like, it's really up to you how you interpret that.
No, I understand. Also, Warmish wants to say something if you want to allow them.
Who does? Warmish?
Warmish.
If Warmish wants to come up, that's fine. I don't want to keep Warmish up too long, just because Ari's been waiting, and I don't want to be disrespectful. And I'm also trying to end stream somewhat soon.
No, understandable. But it's like, I'm not trying to do this as a therapy session. It's just because of the internal conflict of people telling me you can't be gay, you can't be LGBT, you can't be this. You're not actually Catholic. You're not actually Christian. You're because you are doing everything wrong. You're a heretic. You're molesting and twisting everything.
Right. Warmish, did you want to say something?
You talk about yeah. You're talking about. So I mean, I guess like I kind of want to tackle this. So if you're talking about being gay, right? A lot of, at least the Christian kind of perspective on it is that's Levitical law. A lot of Levitical law is more for the Jews. So and Christians don't really follow that. But even if I were like grant you the Christian side, right? There's also what Jews believe in, right? And Jews, for the most part, do not follow those laws either, because under the circumstances that they were brought onto, they were strict Levitical laws at the time. And Jews over time have made those restrictions, right? Plus, I would highlight, and this is why I'm a pagan, not someone who's Abrahamic. I think the Abrahamic religions inherently don't understand where they come from or what their beliefs are, so they continuously either contradict themselves, like what Alec just said, or they have to have a set like way of doing things, even though we can tell that majority of the time, at least like the gods that they believe in, right, which would be either Allah or any of the other ones, they continuously contradict themselves and continuously fuck themselves over. That's what I would say.
Warmish,
Okay.
Maybe I should drag you after this.
I mean, sure.
But-
Sure.
Not in a bad way, but
Yeah, sure.
But no, all I can say is when it comes to this, when it comes to being LGBT, I understand that people need to be affirmed. I understand people need respect and freedom and whatnot. But
Mm-hmm. You still there?
like I said, yeah, I'm still here. Like I said, it's a confliction because life as it is with LGBT people, yeah, they're being oppressed and everything. But the thing is, what's the, should happiness be, and I guess this is a philosophical question, should happiness be construed into a bubble, tucked away, so that society can be happy in its process?
I think not. I mean, you're part of society, so if you're not happy, that's a net negative, right?
Well, I'm just one individual, though. The entirety of society is made of multiple people, and multiple people think of a worldview that contradicts with the smaller minority when it comes to everything.
Sure,
So
but that can change.
why?
You know, it's a lot easier for them to change their opinion of you than it is for you to change who you are outright. So just by like, you know, just by sheer practicality, they should be the ones to change, not you. And then that way everybody's happy instead of you being unhappy.
Wouldn't that
Right?
mean that they're unhappy though, because they're changing, because the minority's making the majority change?
They're not changing something fundamental to themselves. It is not fundamental to anybody to be transphobic. That's something that they learned along the way that they can just as easily unlearn. Just ask me. I used to be transphobic. I unlearned it. Bing, bada boom. And to be frank with you, I'm much happier as a result. I am happier than I was before. Because before I was worried about, oh my God, what if my kid's gay or trans? Whatever will I do? It was anxiety inducing. So it's actually much, much better for those people like I was, like myself, to change their opinions. It's better for everybody.
Okay. I guess I don't. As my certain friend said that I need to discuss with a certain someone about this. Well, I'm not talking about you, but it's
Sure.
more of an inner process of it. I just wanted to have your perspective on certain things. Hopefully this didn't felt like it. Now I'm being
It
self-conscious.
was not a
about
therapy
if it felt
session.
like a
You're
therapy.
fine.
Thank
It's
you
just a
for your
talk.
time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming up. Thanks for your input.
All right, Warmish, if you're still here, I'll see you in General VC1.
All right. Well, you have a wonderful evening. Take care. And happy Pride.
You too. Happy Pride.
All right. We're going to pull up Ari and then we're done.
Hello.
Hello, Ari. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
Doing fine. Just getting towards the end of stream, so I'm a
Good.
little
Yo,
tired, but you know.
Yeah. No, I will try to keep it quick because I actually encountered you like I think it's been over an hour now when we were talking about like kink and fetish and pride parade. So that's why
Sure.
I jumped in. But I do want to say, do you want to go back to that topic? Because it seemed as though that might be the only place that you and I might have a disagreement or a misalignment. Because thus far, I've been appreciating your candor and your perspective. Otherwise,
yeah,
because I don't want to keep you if you're trying to end stream and you don't want to talk about that.
No, we can talk about it a little bit. That's fine. I'm a little bit gassed on it, but it's no biggie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, basically, there was like a lot of broad generalizations occurring because it was like we were talking specifically, you guys are talking about pride parades, and you know, I would have to disagree that a generic pride parade of any given city is hypersexualized or overly sexualized. There were things that were being said, like people having sex in public or having, you know, and other things that would be perceived generally debaucherous, but You know, those types of things are typically reserved for particular types of like street fairs and parades, and they do exist. But like for people to say that like your random Boston Pride parade is gonna, you know, look kindly on those type of actions is just a complete misrepresentation. You know, there are fetish focused street fairs, and those people inside of those street fairs, people do get very liberated and they do project themselves. And so I wanted to see where you stood when it was framed a little bit more concisely. Like, do you think that people should have street fairs where they can be hypersexual?
That's a more interesting question. I would say, okay, so a street fair. So, like, describe the street fair. Like,
Well, I'll give you an example.
environment.
There's one that, yeah. I mean, Google Folsom Street Fair. Google Dory Alley Street Fair. Go ahead and take a look at those two things, and if you want me to go into them in you know, in voice, I can do that.
What's the first one?
Folsom Street Fair.
How do you spell that?
There's one in FOLSOM. There's one in San Francisco, and there's one in Berlin.
Okay, there's a website for it. Mission: cultivating
there
a
is.
safe, open, and inclusive environment for the kink, leather, and alternative sexuality communities, while centering equity for BIPOC and LGBTQIA2IA plus whatever people in our work. We are rooted historically in the fight against gentrification and displacement, both here in San Francisco on unceded Ohlone land and worldwide. We unite, strengthen, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so they are doing both kink. Like, this is explicitly kink.
Exactly. I mean, that's my question. My question to you is should something like that exist? Or do you disagree with its existence?
Well, I'm looking at the events. We have Root of Pride up your alley. The one that caught my eye, sorry, I should have this on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
The one that caught my eye is Deviants. So when I click on Deviants, it says Deviants Adult Arcade, the Up Your Alley After Party. So it looks like they do distinguish. I don't know about like kink being a thing that children go to. I don't think that should be a thing.
Well,
but it looks
so
like
I will tell you
it looks
this.
like a public event where kink, like, they happen to be wearing things that relate to kink, but the explicitly adult events are closed off and only for adults.
Yeah, that's generally true. I mean, but there are children at Folsom Street Fair. I know, I've seen them, I've been there. So what you have to accept that is that there are people who subscribe to this lifestyle, and they also are very successful parents. And this can be a space that if it's about general acceptance, right? Now, these kids aren't at like the Dory or like the Up Your Alley things. Those are obviously only for adults. But the Folsom Street Fair it's for general public. Anyone can bring whomever. And it's everyone's personal choice whether or not they want to like expose, you know, whomever to, I guess, what you might consider hypersexuality, but they do not, right? And then we're starting, when you start venturing into the projection of your own belief as it relates to someone's self-expression and how they want to digest other people's self-expression, right? It gets a little bit murkier there, right?
Can I bring
So-
my pet? Can I
and here-
bring my
this-
child? I mean, this is on their
The
FAQ.
Folsom
Sorry, I
Street
didn't mean to
Fair?
interrupt you. Yeah, well, it's on their FAQ. Is it okay if I read it? Or
Yeah.
did you want to continue? Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
No. And I want you to know, I haven't been in since like 2015. So you might be, my perspective is dated. So if this FAQ is going to contradict me, then I am unaware of that.
Sure. Please do not bring pets of any kind to our events. Both events can be crowded and sometimes very hot. This is not an appropriate environment for any non-human animals. Please do not bring children less than 18 years of age to our street fairs. The environment is very much for adults only. If you want to expose your child to alternative sexualities, there are other ways to do it. Read a book, watch a movie, or attend a conference. Our gates and security volunteers will stop you, discourage you from entering, and reinforce our policy directly with you. Find a babysitter and enjoy a day with your adult friends. I also have somebody in chat who says they've been there and they've never seen a child there.
I mean, I've been there. I was there from 2009 to 2015, and some of the first things I saw were people walking with strollers. They had their, like, maybe I overspoke. Maybe they had infants there, right? Or like younger kids. Because most of Folsom Street Fair is actually, there's a, at least in my memory of it, there's like a very much street fair vibe where there's like vendors and booths that aren't even necessarily kink related. I mean, I worked at a grocery store and we had a booth at Folsom Street Fair. So it's, but if that's changed, because I will offer that my perspective on it is dated. I haven't gone back in a number of years. And if they've leaned more into the adult nature and excluded kids, I mean, wouldn't that just sort of, you know, wouldn't that make you more in agreement that something like that should exist if you disagreed? I haven't really gotten your answer on that. I would like to know what you feel towards these things.
I don't think that children should be exposed to kink in any environment that is not purely academic in nature. I think that once you're like 13, 14, 15 years old, if you take a sex ed class and you talk a little bit about kink there, I think that's fine. Just to make sure that like you understand that there are people with kink, because you can have a kink as young as 13 and even younger than that. You know, you can be into certain
You might not
things,
know it's a kink, but you have it.
Well, right. You may not have the words for it, but you have it. So I want to make sure that children of that age are educated on that stuff so that they're practicing things safely. But that should be strictly in an academic environment. Not so. I don't think you should be able to bring your children to something that is explicitly a kink event. No.
Okay, but you generally accept that and are not against something like this existing. I don't know you. This is the first time I've listened to you. And so I'm just trying to get a bearing so that I can avoid things that we agree on.
Sure. I think that something like this should be allowed to exist. I just don't think that children should be allowed at them.
Okay. No, that's fair. If it's, like I said, perhaps the adultiness of Folsom Street Fair has changed since the last time I went. There was a significantly more hypersexual street fair called the Dory Alley Street Fair. And that one was always no kids, and there was a very good reason for that. You have to understand, like, most of the times people who are expressing themselves in this way and want to be hypersexual, they don't want kids around. If anything, it makes them significantly uncomfortable. Because then you're sort of faced with a choice of like, well, I am here and I want to sort of fully express myself in these particular ways, but now I have to worry about the fact that there's like an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old here, right? The only people who don't understand and accept that are either simply so ignorant of their surroundings that, you know, they just simply haven't noticed. Or, you know, I'm sure there is a significantly small percentage of people that would be like, oh, yeah, there's a kid here now, right? But I'm not speaking for them, and I don't think those people should be allowed even at that event. They probably have, you know, larger things going on that they need to work on. But I just
would say so.
In the previous discussion, it was kind of being implied that like all the gay dudes are just getting off on the fact that everyone is like watching, like that they're potentially some youngin is watching them do what they want to do, and that's just empirically and completely untrue. And it's not something that you even want to entertain as like a valid talking point. If I were you, that's just not how it works. You know, like. I've been a dude, you know, if you look at my icon, I got a dog head on. I'm one of those people, right? I've walked people around as dogs. I've walked around as a dog. I can tell you right now, in these communities, this isn't, like, for some people, it's not even sexual, man. It's just about a reduced and constructed way of interpreting the world. It's release, right? Can sex be a part of it? Yeah. Is sex the focus of it for some people? Yeah. but not for everybody. It's really, you get real dicey and cloudy when you start making these broad strokes about things you're less than experienced and intelligent on, right? So I just sort of wanted to give you that perspective. And if you wanted to like fill out your knowledge here, I'm more than willing to ask or answer any questions that you might have. But like,
Sure, no,
does
you
that
explained
make
yourself pretty
sense
well.
to you?
Yeah, no, it does.
Yeah.
Maybe I could have been more clear in stating this doesn't really happen. Like maybe I entertain the arguments a bit too much.
It doesn't happen.
I really do try. I'm sure like there's like one or two pictures that float around of like people in BDSM dog masks with children. And people like to point to those and say, look, it happens all the time. And it's like, well, no, that's like an isolated case and I don't agree with it. But I really do try, when I entertain people like that, I'm really doing my best to treat them with good faith. And sometimes that comes across as me entertaining things that don't actually happen. So I do appreciate you coming on and reinforcing that this is not a real problem.
It's no more of a problem than like two people at a rave really feeling their ecstasy and finding a corner and going and fucking. It's no more of a problem than like a husband and wife who are super into baseball, and after their favorite player gets a home run, they run to the bathroom so that she can give him a blowy, right? That's the type of problem that we're talking about. And like to kind of fill out what you just said, I want to give you a personal framing. I have observed the same thing that you were referencing in those pictures, and I can guarantee you, the person who's being a dog and interacting with the kid is being a dog, right? And I don't know like if that makes sense, but you're looking at a person,
in a fursuit, kind of.
Exactly. Oh, cool. All right. You know about furries. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
That's what you need. What you need to reframe how you are interpreting that interaction. I'm not going to speak to whether or not you think it's good or bad. That's up to every individual, right? Some people might think that interaction is bad. Other people might not have a problem with it. But what I can say with a degree of confidence is what you are observing is a person who is more fully and completely trying to take on the role of dog, right? And that there is an innocence to that interaction that is very, very difficult to see. Now, if that person has like a fucking butt plug in that looks like a tail and they're in their leather, like they're in their, that's one thing. That's different.
Right.
And I'm not sure of the picture that you are referencing. I don't know what the dog is dressed like, but I'm going to make an assumption here that they're not dressed like that. And if that's the case, then really you're just seeing two very innocent kind of, minds interacting in a way that, and like acting almost, right? The child doesn't know, like the child is a child. It barely knows anything. But the person acting like a dog understands like, oh, this is it. I can like, I am the dog, and the kid thinks I'm a dog. And that's a very rewarding thing for some people, right? That more complete expression of their dog self, right? It's just something, I've been in this community for over 20 years, and it's something that, listen, is it sexual? Yeah, it's very sexual. It's super sexual for some people. That's just the reality and the nature of it. But it's not the only thing. Yeah, it's not the only thing. And for some people, it's not that at all. It's simply just a way they have to human so hard during the day that this is the way in which they unravel the complexities of our lives at the end of the day or on the weekend.
So it's like drag.
And it really doesn't. Yeah. I mean, all of these simulated anonymities are, they're all sort of in the same vein, right? They're all just constructions of character that we're projecting ourselves into the world because we want to make ourselves feel better and feel more like ourselves, right? So yeah, it's just like a fursuit. It's just like drag. I would argue that it's just like getting dressed up in your favorite football team's uniform and painting your face and going through the ritual of going to a stadium and cheering. I think that's drag, right? So it's
okay.
There's we're a hell of a lot closer together from my perspective than some people would think we are. It's just that when you start introducing the sexual aspect of it, it gets really complicated for some people. And
Oh
that
yeah,
was
for
sort of
sure.
the nature of what that's what I was hearing when I stumbled across the algorithm blessed you, or blessed me, I should say. It was like just scrolling you through and you popped up on my YouTube feed and you just happened to be talking about dogs at Gay Pride. And yeah, I had to jump in.
All right, hey, I appreciate you coming on. You know, like that helped broaden my perspective a little bit. I when I see people in dog masks, you know, with children, I will admit that makes me. It still does a little bit make me a little uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, you know, I have to. It may just be somewhere where I have a shortcoming and I need to like reassure myself that this is not sexual and they're just behaving like an animal the same way that like, you know, somebody in a full-fledged I know about furries and fursuits and stuff, so like I don't mind when children interact with furries. So like if it's the same as
Yeah,
that,
well, let
then
me
sure, I don't, you know.
let me break something to you, man. People in fursuits fuck too.
Yeah, I do know that.
A lot. So okay, so where's so here, okay, this is perfect. Then where's the disconnect? If you look at a kid interacting with a fursuit and your natural inclination is to believe that that interaction is innocent, but then you look at a kid who's interacting with a human dog and your natural inclination is to believe that that is not innocent, why are those two things disconnected?
I think it's because I associate the leather dog mask with sexuality. That would be like where my brain goes. If that's
But
not
isn't
the
that
case,
your
then sure, and if that's not
that's
the case,
your
then
perception of it,
that's just
right?
something that I have to do more work on, because you're right. A kid would not automatically assume that there's something sexual going on there, or nor would they be necessarily correct to. It might just be like this person is acting like a dog, and that's it. That's as far as it goes. Sure,
Exactly.
I can accept that.
Exactly. Don't I guess my final point, because I know you want to end stream, is always be self-assessing. Am I projecting intent? Right. And what I would say is that in these cases that you are, and anyone who makes that natural assumption is projecting intent, right? And you're most often not correct, right? Because people are a spectrum. And while you might be correct in certain cases, I think those would be a lot more apparent, you know, than you know, it goes for furries, it goes for, you know, pup gear, it goes for rubber dudes, you know what I mean? It goes for drones, it goes for drag, it goes for transgendered men going in women's bathrooms because they want to jerk off, which I think is absolutely fucking ridiculous of an idea, right? Like the minuscule nature of that problem is so small, I have no idea why we're even talking about it half the time. But yeah, also you got a new listener, man. I'm gonna get up on your notives. I really appreciate your candor, your calmness, and your ability, you know, your allowance for others to speak. Good job.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate you coming on and broadening the horizon a little bit with your perspective. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no worries. Have a good one.
Hey, you as well. Thanks. Well, that was interesting. Lost me with that trans guy one. I understand his point. It's fine. He's not. He's trying to say that like the idea of trans people going into the women's bathroom exclusively to jerk off is ridiculous. It was an interesting talk. All right, y'all. If you are on the Discord, thank you very much for joining. I'm going to sign off on the Discord now, and then I will shortly thereafter sign off on the main stream and get out of here. So I appreciate everybody who came up to speak. If you did not come up to speak and would like to next time, I'll try to do this a little more often. I used to do this more often, but I kind of stopped. So, but you know, getting other people's perspective is a good thing to do sometimes, as we learned. So, thank you very much. Signing off. You guys have a good night. All right. Let me get off of Rocket League here. And see who's live. Thank you, chat, for being patient. I know that I did not address you very much. I tend to do that when I'm speaking with people like that. We all need to do our research and learn more about a badass universe. I agree. Okay. Who's live? I haven't rated Boy Meets Mini in a while. We'll do that. If you're on YouTube, you'll have to go to the site or to Twitch to see Boy Meets Mini. All right. Thank you all again for joining. Love you all. I will talk to you all later, do some more segments later. It was a good stream. I'm glad that I did it. So, have a good night.